I actually think you're the most powerful when your heart is broken.
Yeah.
That's where the light enters you, is where the heart is broken.
To communicate well with others, you have to learn how to communicate with yourself.
What is causing you pain in this moment, as opposed to like what's making you full of love? Because if you can tap into what's causing you pain, you'll experience more love when you leave this place. Because love is already what you are. So we need to take the indirect path to love, which is essentially you got to go through hell to experience heaven.
Your comfortability with silence and eye contact is a direct indicator to your level of freedom.
Yeah.
That is so good. Tweet
That's
that. Imagine a moment from your past that you would like to send gratitude to. Could be in the last year, the last month, childhood. Feel the gratitude for your past self. Now tune into the present. What are you grateful for in this moment? What would you like to send love to in this moment? And lastly, imagine a future. It could be at the end of this podcast. Could be next week, next month, next year. What is an experience that you would like to have gratitude for or love for? Imagine that. Feel it. Bask in it. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes.
So good.
You want to know what I saw?
What'd you say?
I saw all of us running in a field of flowers because Tej is home.
Oh.
So I got in an Uber to come here, and the license plate says Awaken.
Are you serious?
But wait, and the driver looks identical to Jesus Christ. I kid you not. I got his Instagram. I'll show you guys after.
You got Jesus' Instagram?
Jesus is on Instagram officially.
Welcome to Austin.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just been happening like one
Yes.
after
Yes.
the next moment. I'm
Yes.
like, what is this place?
Yes.
Yes.
My body's just been shaking ever since I came here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was telling Danny, just uncontrollably.
Wow.
Yeah. It feels like, I was telling him, it feels like I had visions of a place when I was very small, and now I'm like entering that place for
Oh.
real.
My God. Yes.
Come on, Talia.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's awesome. It
How
feels
are you
right.
guys feeling?
I feel like I'm buzzing.
You were shaking. My eyes were open when you were
Was I
doing that.
shaking?
Wow.
My
heads-
hands?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what happens.
Mm.
When I really feel it, I have to put my hands out
Wow.
and just like let them express. And they always shake.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you're here. Your presence is very awakening feeling to me. Shout out to the license plate.
I was like, the magic is just infinite. It never stops here.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been here?
I moved here in 2017 for my first job. And
Early adopter over
Yeah,
here.
you've been here the longest.
have I?
Right?
I'm the earliest adopter of
think
Austin.
so.
Yeah, you
That
have
makes
been here the
sense.
longest.
That's incredible. And what's funny is I hated it. I absolutely
Yeah.
despised
Mm.
Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the city, it was me.
Hmm.
The city was amazing.
Mm.
It's now I'm just seeing it differently. When I first moved here, I didn't know anybody at all. I moved here from college for my first job in big tech, and I didn't know a soul. I didn't even have one LinkedIn connection who lived in Austin. I like looked every day. I'm like, is there anybody?
LinkedIn.
Where's the truth triangle?
I'm like, where are my people?
Give it a few years. Give it a few years.
Where is Ted? Ted out. Well, I just added.
What are we now, though?
That's incredible.
Tej-
Oh.
That's incredible.
But I didn't know a soul here, and I moved here, and I went to all of these meetup events, you know, as one
Oh.
does.
Meet up.
And oh, God bless them. I mean, I tried every single one. There was one that was like forming new habits. I'm like, oh, those gotta be my people. I show up, it's at the public library. The average age is like 65, and I'm rocking with it.
That's your soul age.
That's my soul age. So I'm like, okay, my people. But the energy was, it just wasn't resonant. And I kept trying. I probably went to like 70 meetup events.
Wow.
And I did not find one person who felt aligned with what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And that was how I felt about Austin.
Wow.
I was like, this is the place to be. Every article is saying you got to move here. And here I am. I moved here and it's not happening for me. So I shut down to the city. I really withdrew.
Wow.
And I had a lot of social anxiety that built up over my first couple of years here. I stopped going to happy hours. I would schedule like Orange Theory classes at 6:45 p.m. so that I didn't go to any nighttime events because I just became so anxious, and it compounds on itself. It's like when you withdraw, you become more anxious, and then you become more anxious because you withdrew, and now you're nowhere. You don't want to be seen. And I was in that spiral for a long time. And so that was my feeling of the city for many years. And then the walks happened. And I created my own exposure therapy for my social anxiety through the walks, which is really special.
Yeah.
And then that's how I know these two beautiful human beings and you. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
It's incredible how you were like, whatever you felt you were lacking, you created that community with the walks.
Yeah.
And then you met the people that aligned with you.
Really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that's what it takes is like, I was trying to find resonant energy in frames created by other people. So I was going to these meetup events thinking like, oh, this person sounds like they're thinking of the same things, they're feeling the same things. And I'd go and it just wouldn't feel right. So if you find yourself running up against that, why don't you think about your perfect event? What would be the most amazing experience that would make you so happy, your perfect 2 hours? And create that and just do it for yourself and then invite other people into it. And there are other people out there whose version of a perfect event matches your version of a perfect event. For me, it's walking for 5 miles and having deep conversations. So that's what I created. And now everyone in my life loves that. Yeah. And so I'm like, whoa, this is great. So you create something that feels so authentic and true to you in a real life experience, and the people just naturally find you and they see you and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been looking for. So that is how I turned Austin around for me. But I love that I had a love-hate relationship with the city. It makes me very grateful for how much I love it now. But what about you, Talia?
I relate to that completely. We moved in end of 2021 from LA with the rest of the world. And I hated it in the beginning. Like, I wasn't expecting to hate it because we moved for my partner Max's like business that he started out here. It was a float tank center. And so we had even traveled with like a bunch of people in that community. And when we got here, we thought that that was like our community, and it just felt very different when we finally moved. And it was just like, oh, that wasn't what I was expecting. Expectations tanked. So did my energy around the city. And all of a sudden we bought a house a couple months into moving here, which felt like a big decision, but it was the best decision. On Truth Trail, now that we know.
Incredible.
Yeah,
It's called Verona Trail, but he just looked up what Verona means, and it means truth.
Of course it does.
What prompted that, Daniel?
I was doing my passport information and I was putting my emergency contact as Talia. And then I was like, wait, what does Verona mean?
That is amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, there's no way.
Did
This
you
is
even
real.
tell her she's your
I'm
emergency
always the
contact?
emergency-
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's making sense. I love that. You
So I
are the
hated it
emergency contact.
Oh, yeah.
Mom.
Oh.
The awesome
Mom energy, spiritual
Awesome
mom.
mom.
Spiritual mom.
Total spiritual mom. Anyway, thank God for you in the walks, because that is really what turned it around.
Oh.
Like, I was like, Max, can't live here for good. Like,
Could you imagine saying that today?
I literally am never leaving.
What did you just say? Like the feeling the other day where you used to go
Oh,
back to LA.
God.
You can say it better than me.
Well, I would still go back to LA for work a lot to see clients. And every time I'd go back for the first 2 years, I was like, oh God, I miss Erewhon. I miss the beach. I miss the sun. I miss my friends. Like, I just kept missing it. And I was resisting being where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in LA. I was born in LA. I hated LA growing up. Like, I left LA. I was over it. But it's like, you always want what you don't have to a degree, unless you're being fully trusting of the reason that you are where you are.
Mm.
So I'd go back, and every time we'd go back, I'd be like, Max, I want to move back. And I hated living there. And then I just went back to LA. I stopped traveling for a while because I just needed to be like grounded. And I just went back last week. The second I landed, I was like, oh God, I need to go back home. I need to go back to Austin. And it was a rough week. I was very present, but when I like literally landed back in Austin last Thursday night, peace just rushed through my entire body. And I was like, oh, thank God for this place. And I was driving home, and there were trees around me, and there were no lights around me. And I'm like looking at the moon shining down. It was a gorgeous moon that night. And I'm like, oh, thank God for Austin. I love it here. It is home. It's just home. But similar to you, I really resisted it in the beginning. I'm so grateful for the walks, because it's truly the reason that we met. I think having you as like the family I've chosen beyond my true family has changed everything. Like, I feel like when you have family, people that feel like family in a city, nothing else matters.
Wow.
Nothing else matters.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring you guys all together on this podcast together, was because you guys have all been the family that I've chose. And Tej is the person who was Elle and Talia before Elle and Talia were Elle and Talia to me.
The OG Elle and Talia. Let's fucking go.
The people who were able to work on my psyche in a way that it was able to actually get through to me, you know? And I could just read your tweets, and I would have phone calls with you. I'd feel lighter every single time. And I didn't know how to maintain that. I didn't know that my mission in life would be to continue on those states. Like, we would have phone calls, and I would leave those phone calls feeling so high. And then the next day, there's the same old person I was. But the difference is, with Elle and Talia, they're in my physical reality every day. So we would have a walk, and then the next day we'd talk, and it's like I'm still living in that state. And so my heart goes out to people who can only have one phone call with someone a month who's in a higher state. Because they feel that, and then they don't know what to do. Or to meditate, to look at your stuff, but it's, where's the practice? It was hard there was no practice for me. And having friends like Elle and Talia in my physical vicinity allowed me to transform. So thank you for modeling, Tej, what it actually looks like to bring me to an elevated state, or to bring someone to it. And I could recognize the same light in them because it was first shown in you.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Me too.
And of course, both of your names mean light.
Right.
And,
And November 19th.
November
you guys have
19th.
the same birthday,
you
November 19th.
And we both shake with energy.
Of course we do.
Yeah.
That's an incredible reflection. And it was so interesting because I was telling Danny yesterday, I was like, there was a photo that he posted on Instagram when he was, I would say in the sunken place, to borrow a term from Kanye. And you could see it in his eyes. There was so much light and life inside him, but it felt like he was in prison. And if you see the contrast in his eyes right now and you compare it to that photo, it's like he's gone through a rebirth.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible to witness. Like his transformation just like fucking melts my heart, It's like, wow. I can't even put it into words. Like just seeing the life, just like how you were yesterday, for instance. When we were hanging out, Danny's like getting up from wherever we were sitting. He's like, God is good.
Yes. God is great.
So good.
I don't just tweet it, I live it.
It's so true.
And I noticed it like sends like ripples throughout everybody. Even the people like our Uber driver, for instance, he was first like, what the fuck are these guys on? And then by the end of it, he was like speaking so much truth.
Wow.
Yeah. And just seeing the ripple effect has been incredible.
Oh.
Yeah. So not to bring you guys all in one room, it feels so surreal for me. This is the coolest thing in the world. How is this real? How am I living in a movie?
It's so special. It feels really special. That's what I felt in the visualization you just guided us through after the meditation. When you asked, what are you grateful for in this moment? All that kept coming up was this moment. This moment. Just being all together in the same space is so, so special.
What do you sense when you tune into this moment?
It's like a reunion of angels. Like long lost brothers and sisters, like truly feel like we were family in another life. And it just feels like a reunion of that.
I feel it just in your presence.
Yeah.
Like radiating.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so special.
Tej was taking a lot of deep breaths yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
I was, so I'm here with a friend for Danny's retreat, and we're staying in an Airbnb, and he was like, I've taken more deep breaths in the last 24 hours than I have in the last 6 months in Vancouver.
Wow. We were told something very similar. In November, Danny had a friend from New York come visit, and we were on a walk. And, Danny and I are like jumping around, laughing at everything, at nothing. All is well, baby. And
all is Tej.
All is Tej. All is Tej.
Your one-liners are classic.
Thank you.
They're so good.
They're
so good.
They're so good. Indeed.
Wow.
Indeed.
And then we got to tell people a story about the holy all as well. Tej and I had a holy moment.
The holy all as well.
And we're going to have to get there.
Incredible.
But it reminds me of something that happened. We were walking on the trail just levitating of pure ecstasy and happiness. And his friend goes, I've smiled more on this trip to Austin than I have in probably the last 6 months to a year in New York City.
Wow.
And my face physically hurts from smiling.
Yeah. And it's worth noting, a lot of people can't hold that. Right? You've done the work to be able to know what that level of joy and love and peace feels like, and to sit in it and to bask in it. But a lot of people feel that and they're like, get that away from me.
Right.
I don't need any of that. That's like, I'm scared. What is that? Is this a drug?
Yeah.
Right.
No, this is just how we feel on the moment to moment basis. And if you can't hold that because you haven't done the work on yourself to hold that about releasing your own judgments, your own insecurities, your own insufficiencies about yourself, you don't have any idea. You're like, what is happening? It's too confusing. So
You know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say something I noticed when we were meditating is I heard some chatter outside and they were like, what are they doing in there? They're so quiet in there. And they're meditating. And then I was just laughing because I'm thinking to myself, like, we could probably, the four of us, just sit here and say absolutely nothing and just look at each other for this entire 4 hours and be totally at peace with that.
That's right.
And it really hit me in that moment when you were taking your deep breaths, just like, I don't know, 2 minutes ago. I'm like, wow, I imagine in that moment, someone sitting in their car, listening to this episode and feeling uncomfortable with the silence.
Yeah.
Someone said that to me yesterday.
Really?
Of course they did.
Yes.
I had the visual in my head as you were breathing. I was like, wow, I can't wait for people to feel uncomfortable with that moment.
Oh, wow.
Someone said to me, it is wild how comfortable you are with silence. It's like, yeah, I've practiced a lot.
Yeah.
Right? We've all practiced a lot to be comfortable with silence.
I feel like silence is so powerful because so much is communicated in the silence without saying a word. And even through our meditation, it feels like we were calibrating with one another and we were communicating almost on another plane. And then you come back to this reality. It's like, what's up, friends?
It's funny because I kept feeling, I love you. I love you.
Me too.
I love you. I was communicating.
Yeah.
I was like physically pushing that out to all of you.
Exactly what I was
Were you doing that?
It's exactly what I was doing.
Wow. But I think silence, like your comfortability with silence and eye contact is a direct indicator to your level of freedom.
Yeah.
That is so good. Tweet
That's
that.
a tweet.
That's
That's
a
a tweet.
The
Oh
amount
my
of
Live
times-
tweet. Live tweet.
It's recorded. Yeah.
The amount of times I've been walking around lately and people are like, banger tweet.
Banger,
It's really
banger.
got to be called to the awareness
It's
of
really
all.
true.
So, but is that not so true?
It is.
Is someone asked me on the last walk, like, how can you tell someone's level of consciousness? I'm like, let me really tune into that because it's really obvious for me now.
Yes.
People give themselves away
Oh,
with
so
how they
much.
show up. And it's not a confidence thing. It's a consciousness thing. It's like, because I think that's where we hear it. That's where we hear it. It's like, here's how to be more charismatic. Here's how to be more confident.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's the frame that I grew up thinking about, where people would teach you, oh, this is how you can do this. And it's like, nah, it goes beyond that because that's a performance. Consciousness is about being. Charisma is about performing.
It's so true.
Right? And so when I meet somebody, and I'd be very curious to see now that we're very aware of this, and the book is right in the middle of all of us. But now that I become very, thank you, Hawkins, aware of this, when I'm talking to someone, especially on the walks, I feel like I can intuitively calibrate them in their eyes.
Yep.
There's just something that hits me right in the moment. And the way that I leverage this is I know exactly how to best serve them. I know exactly how to either dip into the state that they're feeling in this moment, or to, which in anger, grief, shame, anything in the survival paradigm or that's peaking right above courage really requires you to just be with them.
It's true.
There's no advice giving. There's no trying to change. There's just pure being and acceptance and love radiating from you is what will actually make them feel so comfortable in their state, which carries a lot of shame usually, that they can just let it spill. Same thing that happened with the Uber driver.
Yes.
That's you create.
Exactly.
That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
That's exactly
Exactly.
That's what I've learned with the walks is like, what do you do with the survival paradigm is you just be.
Yeah.
Like
be with.
No
advice.
No
advice. No trying to change. No trying to improve.
No judgment.
No judgment.
Just feeling. Just tapping into that. And then on the walk, so I'll see it in someone's eyes where they are. I would say most people, unless they're a +1, are encouraged to even come on the walk.
Right.
Because these are the kind of stories I've heard this, no, I kid you not, hundreds of times. People will tell me the same stories in different words. They'll say, I saw these walks on Twitter for 6 months and I felt so called to them, but I never had the courage
Wow.
to join until
my
this
God.
morning.
Wow.
And I woke up today and said, today is the day.
Wow.
What is your advice to that person who is right now just below courage and wants to come on the walks?
Oh, wow. It's so funny. I wouldn't give them advice. I would just truly say, when you feel that intuitive hit that today is the day, follow it. When you wake up with so much clarity that you can hear that inner voice and it's telling you something specific, that is God speaking to you. And if you can just follow that voice with no judgment of yourself at all, literally fuck around, find out energy. You show up, something will happen that will shift you in one way or another. And so it's less about like, this is when you should come on the walks. It's more about, when you should come on the walks. If you hear the voice, follow it. And something will happen. That's what I hear every single time. It's that story I just told you. Like, I've seen this for months and months and months, and today was the day. Then they actually come and they have a conversation or multiple that ends up completely lifting them out of their frame. And they go on this hero's journey they didn't even expect, because they listened to the voice, because they joined the walk, because they had that one conversation. And then it's a domino effect of intuitive hits because they followed that one.
Wow. I feel like silence is so crucial for actually cultivating that voice, so you can actually listen to God when he actually speaks to you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, courage could be trying to get through and you're so, distracted by Twitter or like an audiobook or like whatever it may be. So I think it's so crucial to go on a walk with no inputs, just let God speak through you. Even in this moment, I feel that presence so strongly, like it's so real. It just sends like shivers up my spine, and this like release of energy just flows all throughout my body. And I feel like my nervous system can't even handle it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like so intense. And that's like what I've been trying to do, is like almost like getting a new body that's aligned with reality as it actually is.
That's exactly it.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why your tweet was so good when you're like, my nervous system in LA compared to Austin is like night and day.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I really resonate with what you just said I had my aunt, Suzette, who's a superstar here at this point.
this aunt through the podcast.
You want her?
Sounds
You gotta talk to
I would
Susie.
love to.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
I would love to.
It will be a holy moment.
Oh
I would
my
love to.
God.
Here it comes.
That would
She
be
said something very similar to me. I spoke with her about a month ago, and she said, it feels like you have blinders on and you're not looking around and grounding yourself and your body in everything that you've created. Like, ground yourself in who you are today, in your body today. And as I've been doing that more and more, I've been feeling very strong dissonance or resonance with a place or a person. So LA, it's funny because I was telling Max about this on Saturday. We went on a hike for like 2 hours and I just needed to be like in nature. And it's such a great place. I'll show you guys. And I was sharing with him, I was like, of course, growing up in LA with the parents that I had and the level of chaos and dysfunction, of course, LA would be the place because it's such havoc in the city itself. Like, the city was a reflection of the nervous system that I grew up with and in the environment I grew up in. And I've always longed for that because I was not comfortable with silence. Austin was quieter. There wasn't as much
Interesting.
going on. And I was like, I miss LA. I miss the variety.
The chaos.
The chaos. It's like my nervous system didn't know how to live in a suburb, in a city where it was more at peace. And then I went back after doing all this grounding and I was like, holy shit, there's so much stimulation everywhere. I can't be anywhere in solitude.
Wow.
And that was the shift that happened last week of, of course that would be a reflection of where my nervous system and my body is now, because I'm so much more at peace with silence.
I'm curious, when did you guys get that initial itch that there's more here?
More here
In Austin.
Not
the
in
ether?
Austin.
Not in Austin?
With respect to like reality itself, like
Oh.
the normal paradigm isn't all there is to it. There's something more tangible and real here.
Juicy question, Tej.
So for me, it was reading Tej's tweets. That's the God's honest truth of it.
Wow.
I would read his tweets and be like, what is happening here?
Wow.
Really?
It got like 10 people on the timeline talking about how to make $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you have Tej on the timeline talking about how to make $10,000 a month and how to do it with love and how to make friends with strangers. And I remember
Wow.
thinking to myself, how does he talk to a stranger?
Wow.
Could you imagine the version of myself today back then being like,
Can you share more about that version? We've never even talked about that.
well,
Yeah, let's unpack that.
Yeah, please.
I just had so much judgment towards people because the judgments were reflected to myself. I had so much judgments about, oh, this person looks like this and that person looks like that. And that means that they're not someone worth talking to. And if I were to talk to them, what would I say? And that was 2017, 2018, 2019, and before. And then I started to meditate from Tej and reading his tweets and seeing there was something different about him and wanting to be able to talk to strangers and not judge them, wanting to be able to just open up to anyone at any moment. But yeah, it was Tej's tweets that first lit that fire of possibility. Like, you don't have to go around judging everyone. And he was living it.
What do you think, I'm curious, made you receptive to it? Because a lot of people would have read that and be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Right.
A lot of
That's
people
true.
did.
Right.
I mean, I always go back to my childhood of writing the Sunny Times and writing a blog on how to be happier at 13. So part of me thinks like it was programmed in me. But part of me was just so dissatisfied with the judgments I had to people and didn't know why I had them and what made them exist in my consciousness to begin with. Just had no clue. And I knew when I meditated and when I did yoga, I got tastes of, oh, life doesn't have to be this way. And when I read your tweets, truly got hits of kindness of like, you can just
hits
love
of kindness, hits of kindness, the real drug, hits of kindness.
Yeah.
So you could feel his tweets.
Oh yeah.
They just felt, what do they feel like to you?
This is exactly how I thought the podcast would go. What does it feel like to you, Danny?
I also
Tell
did.
me.
I did too. We were talking about that.
You guys all know what is going to happen before it happens. We all do. It's written. They felt like pure love, and they felt like hugs on the timeline.
Hugs on the timeline.
Yeah, and it just cracked its way through because it was what I was interested in.
Ooh.
Right, I was interested in making money, and you were able to meet me there.
That was the gateway drug.
That's right.
I had to get you in through the money to give you the real juice. You know?
That has been the theme of the last week. I wrote this line where I said, I am a Trojan horse that promises deep thoughts and delivers deep feelings. And that's very much how I see the boardwalks, is that people come in because they're like, I like deep conversations. And they're like, holy shit, I feel like I belong. I feel loved.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something bigger than me. I feel so good and I don't even really know what I'm feeling, but I love it. I'm going to come back 60 times in a row.
Wow.
And it's like, you get people in. You just did this intuitively. You do this, of course. So do you. We all have this in common. Wow. Okay, this is special. Because Talia does this in the business sense. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
You could say it better than me. But from my view, you say, communication skills is what I'm going to teach you. And then they get in and it's like, no, we're doing soul surgery.
The reason for being.
Yeah. Here is the reason
You want to be a
you're on
good
the
communicator?
planet.
I'll show you.
Yes.
I'll
And
show you how to communicate with yourself.
that's one
Wow,
of your
wow.
bars.
That's profound.
Yeah.
It's very
Wait,
profound.
say the bar. Say the bar.
To communicate well with others, you have to learn how to communicate with yourself. It's as within, so without. Your relationship with you is a reflection, or the relationships around you are a reflection of your relationship with yourself. So you're right. We're very sneaky.
We're
being exposed on this podcast. What are you doing? The jig is up. The magic trick has been revealed. The magic trick is revealed.
Well, it's magical because that is how you got Danny.
Yes.
It's because you were promising business insights and delivering love.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And it's really special we talked about this in our first podcast episode, meeting people where they are.
Yes.
I see that as our responsibility.
Yes.
When you get to a certain point
It's so
and you're seeing the world through a certain lens, like we're all wearing rose-colored glasses because the world looks like roses. And it's such a beautiful view. And we talk to people all day long who are not seeing the world in this way. And it's like, how do you bring someone to this beauty, this wonder, this awe? You have to meet them where they are. You can't just pull them up the ladder, by their hand and swing them to where we are. No, it's too drastic. And like we know this in our relationship, it's so gradual, and transformation doesn't happen in a weekend. Transformation takes maintenance. It's like you have this aha moment. You had the Tej tweets as an aha moment, and he held that container for you on your phone calls, even remotely. He did 75 hard with you.
Yeah.
You had these moments where there was maintenance to his belief in you that allowed him to transfer this worldview to you. He couldn't have just done that in one call. It takes that consistent holding and a consistent container to make that happen. That's why I'm passionate about the walks happening weekly, by the way. Is because transformation doesn't happen once a month.
Right.
You want to transform, you show up every week. And every week you'll see that progress. And every week people will say, what's going on with that thing you told me last week? That's where it happens. You can't run from something that's a weekly commitment or a more than weekly commitment. You can't run from yourself. You can't run from your problems. You can't run from your pain. You have to face it. And there's so few spaces, I feel, and you created that for Danny, probably just intuitively. Like, I would love to hear what was in it for you?
Yeah.
Why did you hold this space for this random guy from Twitter? Like, how did that happen?
What's funny is like when I hear Danny explain that story, it doesn't even feel like the character Tej played a role in it.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Like, it wasn't even like, oh, I made a decision, like, oh, this Danny guy, he has something, I'm going to like take these calls with him. It was nothing like that. It was just like so spontaneous. And I feel like when you're being used by God, you don't even know you're being used by God until after the fact. And then I don't even feel like I did anything. Yeah. Like even what he wrote on Twitter yesterday, I'm reading that. I'm like, when the fuck did that happen? Like I don't even notice this. Yeah. I don't even notice it.
Really?
But it just feels like, it was like, it's just like spontaneous and it just happens naturally.
Wow.
And then after the fact, it's like, the story that the mind paints, it's like, oh, that's what happened. But it didn't feel like that was happening when we were actually in it, which is what I think makes this so special and so real. It's like, I feel like something else is at the controls here. And if we can just step aside and let that force live through us, just fucking magic happens.
Every time.
You get in an Uber and Jesus Christ is the driver. I'm like, dude, incredible. What is this? I'm doing the greatest podcast of all time with the greatest people and Jesus is my driver.
Jesus, awaken license. Jesus,
awaken license plate.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
Can't make it up.
Yes.
It's very
it's amazing. So what you're saying, and this is really,
it's so true.
This is a really beautiful reflection because what you're basically saying is one of the most profound moments of Danny's life was just a Tuesday for you. Right?
Well, but that's what happens.
That's what happens.
That's what happens for you.
Special.
That's what I was just going to say.
This is a really amazing reflection.
We all have that in common.
That I needed to hear.
That's a huge insight.
Yeah. It's a massive reflection because I really struggle to understand my role in people's transformations because of what you just said. Because we're just being and there's no effort. So, and this is a big block for why I haven't stepped into anything like coaching professionally or anything, because it's so easy that I genuinely don't see my role in it, which is what I just heard from you.
Exactly.
So I love to hear, like, do you still feel that way? What is your relationship to your role in people's transformations today?
I feel like for me, it kind of goes back to what you just said. If you want to have rich conversations, develop that capacity with yourself. I feel like all I do is just connect deeply with myself and tweet about it. And then naturally people resonate with that. And I've also noticed, like, if I try to help people, I can never help people. I get too in the way. I fuck it up.
Wow.
Because it's your mind.
Exactly.
It's not your intuition in the moment.
Yes. My mind is leading the way, and it's not like presence. Like when I'm helping people, I have zero fucking idea I'm helping.
Yeah, I get that. But to go back to what you just said on, it's like there's no effort.
Yeah.
Maybe in the moment there's no effort because you're so connected to God, but what effort had to be exerted to get there? It's like, what is the effort that you've put into building who you are to even be a channel, to hold space for someone effortlessly?
So you're saying the context of how much emotional labor, how much staring at the pain, working through the pain, finding the light, all of the times you'd scribble something in your journal aspirationally that wasn't in your reality. And then all of a sudden it becomes your reality. It's like, I'm living it. And you're so present and it's so juicy. It's so real. But you forget all of the steps that got you to that feeling. I think that's what's happening to me.
But I also think that that's part of the gift, because that means you're still in the present moment, and the present moment dictates the next moment. And I also feel like I feel like the love for yourself, for ourselves, has to come from a place of like, holy Talia, holy Elle, holy Tej, holy Danny, that I've walked the path that I've walked to become who I am today, so that I could be there for others with my presence, and to still be in the moment where there's no ego around it. Because I don't think we're meant to measure the impact that we have on every single individual, because if we could, we would be so inflated with our own ego and our ideas of our value in an unhealthy way. It's almost like a combination of having honor and love for yourself for being who you are in this moment, but also being in the moment and not having ego for what you're doing for people.
Well, I mean, I see this as like one of the areas I'm not free fully. And I think you are very free here. And I love to hear like what knocked that into place for you. Because I think what's really special is you hosted this retreat, and Cameron was on the pod and talked about this. You had this pre-retreat call, and there's no real structure. And you're just on there and you're like, here's the name, here's the time, here's the place. Goodbye, gentlemen. And then everyone showed up and it was like magical. And you have such a trust and belief in your being. And I'd love to hear about that. Like, how did you cultivate that?
Laugh. I love the cheeky laugh.
Well, it was two things. One is that I admitted that I came from a wealthy family. That was the thing that I was so insecure about. I didn't want anyone to know. That once I let out, released me from that shame and guilt and allowed me to be free. And the other is this woman, one time, she told me, you could just host a retreat and charge $3,000 for it, and you could just be there and it would be amazing. And that woman's name was Elle Beecher.
I did say that.
I was like, who is this woman?
I knew where you were going.
Bring her in here.
So that was...
I knew. She's sitting right here.
Hey, yo.
And I deeply believe that to be true. Because when you told me it, I didn't fully see it. But by the time that I had posted about the retreat and felt the unconditional love for myself, I was like, yeah, she's right. Like, I absolutely could just sell a retreat and sell this energy, because this energy feels amazing and it is making every other person I speak to feel amazing. And what would that look like for 72 hours? So you believed in me. You saw it before I saw it myself. And I tapped back into that when I was like, I don't have a plan. I'm just going to meditate and then we're going to come up with the prompt. And I did it and it was amazing.
Yep.
And you have that same thing. You know you do.
Which is why I don't think it's the block,
Yeah.
because you do it every Saturday at 8 a.m.
Ooh, being called out. I like this. Truth triangle is zeroing in.
Well, the source
It's a
square.
true
They got you
source.
cornered. They're trying to corner
I
you.
know. This is what always happens. There was a period, Tej, because this is what you know how it goes. But we would be at the house, and whoever's the least free is where the attention goes.
That is a
That's the
rule.
universal
for,
truth.
for consciousness.
Universal
The
truth.
person least free will always have the direction
Interesting.
pointed at them
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
think about it. They have the greatest problem.
Absolutely.
It's the person who is so scared and fearful versus the person who's loving. What's going to happen? Who's going to dominate that conversation?
Very interesting.
The person who's scared. So,
Who's going to hold more space?
yeah.
Ooh,
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
We have to make sure.
That's,
we need to
This
Appreciate
is
you.
first in-person podcast.
yeah, first, I'm a rookie.
First
No,
Are
I'm
you
just kidding.
in-person
serious?
podcast?
Yes, first in-person podcast.
Oh
With-
my
does this
God.
With the Truth Triangle. Honestly,
wait,
it-
what an honor!
That is an honor.
yeah, first in person.
Wow.
What? Okay, we gotta
Live in
talk
the
about
flesh.
that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but we're not getting rid of you. Out.
No deflecting, yeah.
Nice try, nice try.
November 19th is in the hot seat. Okay.
Yes.
Dang, look at us.
There's a reason that we sat like
That's very interesting.
but it's 2-on-2, Tej, all right?
Let's
Here we
go.
go.
Let's go.
Who's going? God will. Okay, here we go. So, all right, back to my unfreedom. Okay, so yeah, you're right.
That's a good way to start.
That's a great
Let's
great
just start
response.
there. So what you were saying, Tal, is that there's a deeper block.
There has to be a deeper block
Yeah.
because you're already doing what you're saying you're not doing. There's a deeper block around money for you.
Where I would challenge that statement is
Mhm.
that I have done every walk for free.
Correct.
Right.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
But because it's free, okay, how do I explain this? All money is value. You're putting a value on your time, on your energy,
Mhm.
on your gift, on your service. And I think, I've done the walk 88 times now. And it's always been free. And it's free because when it started, I didn't know what I was doing. I just was showing up. And I was never inviting anyone. That's one of my philosophies. So whoever came for those first 1 through 30 walks, I truly believed it was like a miracle anyone showed up because I thought the experience was so ass.
Mm.
I'm not kidding. I thought it was terrible. I thought it was I didn't know what I was doing. I had no structure.
Mm.
I had no idea of how to show up in the morning, how to host. I never hosted anything before in my life. I was just there and I was like, I'm just going to keep showing up and whoever comes, and that's great. And I think that once I leapt past number 30 and then created ground rules and more of a structure off of some of the problems that were arising within the community, because if you do something enough times, you're going to have the same people come over and over, and it becomes a village. But with any time that you bring multiple people together in the same place, no one can run from each other. So you have people who are going to trigger each other. You're going to have people who trigger me, and you're going to have these incidents that would arise that would make me or someone else feel very uncomfortable, that I felt okay, I got to put the structure in place around walk 30 when you guys joined, which was 33.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You guys joined on walk 33.
Yeah.
And we never talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the significance of that number
I
itself.
know.
It's very
Isn't that
interesting.
amazing?
Same week as Danny's 333 episode with Finkelstein.
Harley Finkelstein, yeah. But none of this has to do with your
I know,
relationship. I know you were thinking
no,
that.
but it does. But it
Okay.
does.
I know we're going on a little
Because-
detour.
I
We're
know.
going back.
But yeah,
You
that's
tend
what
to
I
do
do.
this when you go.
You do.
When
That's what I
when
do.
there's with money.
You're really good at storytelling.
You go in this big circle.
To avoid coming back to where we started.
Right.
She doesn't like
I know that face.
She don't like it. If
Well-
the blanket and the beanbag were here, we know where you'd be.
Well, I'm saying this because I genuinely didn't think it was an experience worth charging for
Okay.
until I had a structure, and I'm still not charging
But
for
let's
it. Do you
take
see
the
what I'm
walks
saying?
out of it. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're
Okay.
never going to
This-
charge for the walks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Correct.
exactly.
So it's not about the walks.
Not about the walks.
I love you.
Then what is it about?
Well, okay, so what happens inside of you when multiple people have said, "Hey, Elle, you should coach me. I would love to be coached by you." They send you this DM.
Yeah. What happens?
And obviously, they would say that because you're an incredible coach who has gotten me to this place of freedom where I could just say, "I love God." And that's a completely normal thing for me to do. That was not a completely normal thing for me to do 6 months ago, before knowing you.
Just being free to be himself.
Just be free to say what is expressed within me. That is a result of your coaching, right? The ability to host a retreat, that's a result of your coaching. Okay, all of that. So endless other things. You're an incredible coach. So you get that message saying, "Hey, coach me." And what goes on in your mind?
I think there's a panic. There's like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't, what am I going to do? I'm going to get on the call and do what? I don't know what the structure is. I don't know.
Oh, I just realized what it is.
What?
It was the same thing we talked about on the last pod.
What?
It's perfectionism.
That's exactly what I thought.
It's just perfectionism. She's laughing.
Yeah.
It's just perfectionism. Because I won't be safe if it's not perfect.
That's right.
Well, it's like if someone is paying me to help them, it's like, what if I can't help them?
So say, "I'll give you your money back."
Okay.
I mean, that's what I said with the retreat.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't feel comfortable paying this amount after it's over, I'll give you a refund.
And start somewhere smaller. You don't have to start you start where you intuitively feel. It could be $100, it could be $200, it could be whatever feels like an easy start to then start to build this muscle of confidence and self-trust and faith in the gift that you have that you share with every single person that talks to you. You give your gift on the walks every single Saturday to probably over 10 people a week.
Yeah.
So do you know what the structure is for that conversation? The magic is actually in it not having structure.
And you following your intuition, which is you
That's
following God.
gift. That's the gift.
Yeah.
It's the gift that you give every time you talk to someone.
Busted.
Come on, Tej. Where's my backup? Where's my backup, Tej?
Sorry, I had to align with that. For that point.
It's 3-on-1 now. Okay.
Just for that point.
Oh, for the
We're back on the same team now. Just interjected.
When I felt truth, I had to align with truth.
Okay.
No hard feelings. No hard feelings.
You know what? I'm against me. That's what happened. We stay on the side of truth.
Exactly.
But no, you're right. You're right. I think it's like, it's a fear. It's a fear. It's like, because I have so many DMs. I mean, it's probably at this point over 30 of people saying like, "I would pay you to coach me," and I just don't answer.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think it's like a fear that I don't know what I would do. I don't know what the call would be like. I would feel this need to like give them a lot of value. Structure it. Like I had to give them something big, and maybe the expectations on my own self are too high. Maybe they're not even thinking that. Maybe they just want someone to be there and just let them be present and hold space for them. And maybe that's enough.
You also get to choose who you do it for.
Right.
Like that's something that you've shared with me a lot in the past of, I don't want to feel like I have nothing for myself or no time for myself and I'm always giving so much and then it's imbalanced. And so it's like that can happen if you don't know what you really want and then very intentionally choose that from a place of, I want this for myself and for others, or I want this for others and myself. And so you may have 30 DMs and only feel called to work with 2 of the 30 people that reached out to you. You actually get to choose what you want to do with your time and where you want to spend it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a deeper part of it for you too, because it's like, you don't know how, like, it's almost out of integrity for you to not help someone.
Yeah.
Because I have that and I see that in you. It's like when someone comes to me, I feel it's like I'm out of integrity if I don't say yes and I know I can help them. If it doesn't feel like a yes, I don't. But if it feels like a yes, I'm out of integrity if I don't listen to that intuition, just like what you were saying earlier about it being driven by this intuition of a yes to come on the walks. And so if it's not a yes to work with someone, you don't have to work with them. But I feel like given what's happening in your life right now and you're just like abundant with blessings, you also get to choose how much time you want to spend there. And whatever you choose is perfect versus not opening the door.
I feel like there's also a piece of it where it's like, well, if I say yes to one person, I can't say no to 29 others.
Because all are equal.
Right. Because everyone's equal. And I need to, if I say yes to one, that means I'm saying yes to 30.
That's right.
And so
that's a really good point.
So that is permission from Talia and me to say yes to 1, say yes to 3, say yes to 5, say yes to whatever you feel comfortable, and create a wait list or don't.
That's a really good point around the fairness, because that's a high value for me. So it's like the treatment of one should be the treatment of all. And I think I get stuck on that a lot.
And this comes back to your ability to choose.
I was just thinking that.
I was just thinking.
Of course you were, but also
I even have a podcast.
We're all just like telepathically communicating. Wow.
Goes back to just sitting in silence and talking without speaking.
Yeah.
I have a really good question for you, though. So remember you asked both of us what our medium is?
Yeah.
And it was live? Is your medium one-on-one? Like, is that your medium?
Can you say more?
Well, your walks are not one-on-one, really. Your walks are an event. It's a group experience, which then allows for you to not feel like 100% obligated to talk to every single person and impact every single person. And so is your medium one-on-one?
That's a very interesting reflection. It's like just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Or want to.
What's the context there?
This is interesting. What's coming up for me is that there's a wounding that I'm feeling. I give a lot of myself to the present, all of myself to the present moment. And I think a lot of the times when I have entered into a one dynamic, the other person takes it further than I agreed to. So I will start the frame in the way that I want it. And then I'm just going to make this specific. There have been many, many cases where I've started as friends with men specifically, and then they develop feelings for me. And I panic at the change of that frame because it's not what I agreed to and I thought I was clear. And then that changed. And now it's like, okay, I don't know how to operate in this new frame. And I think that there is a fear that if I were to coach, that same frame change would become very questionable for me, because that has been a very big pattern in my life. Is I'll set what I want, I'll be very clear, and then people will try to take it to a different frame. And I've grown a lot since then, but I do recognize that like the panic is actually coming from that wounding.
I see.
And that doesn't mean that I couldn't just stop the relationship or be like, just express my honest truth, which I didn't have the ability to do when I was wounded in that way. So the panic is really just my former self panicking of not being able to tell the truth and then cutting the person off and then really freaking out and avoiding.
Hallelujah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is so great.
Wow.
This is recorded? Oh my God. This is amazing.
Hallelujah. That's a beautiful insight as somebody that's doing a lot of grounding right now in a very similar way to the way I expressed earlier. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can I share a story?
Yeah.
So I used to have a very similar fear. As a young woman, I started coaching and consulting when I was 21. And I was very full of light and very full of love. And there was an instance, probably a couple years into working with companies, And there was a guy on an executive team that I had to work with because I had consulted. I'd contracted for that. And he had a really off energy to me, and he was really broken. Like on the map, like really below courage, like very victimized by everything that had happened in his life. And he physically, viscerally showed that.
Wow.
And I just wanted to help. And the frame became uncomfortable. One weekend I was away with friends, and I think he texted me, like, hope you're having a great weekend. And I was like, this is uncomfortable, and that's wrong. And I feel like a line is crossing here. And so I picked up the phone during our next session, and I said, hey, you know that you wouldn't do this because I don't think it's in your character, but sometimes when you're working with a consultant, it can become a little confusing because you're opening up about personal things. And I know that you wouldn't be inappropriate with me, but I'm just going to say that that's not appropriate if there was a part of you that was. And I actually ended working with him after that call. And I just said, you know what? I don't think that I can help you. And there's nothing that I can do to serve you. And I'm really sorry. I wish you well. And I'm going to keep working with the CEO.
Wow.
I have tears in my eyes right now because, one, I'm so grateful that you stood up for yourself in that way. And how many women need to hear that? How many women don't have the words to express the truth of how they're feeling?
Yeah.
So incredible. And I also feel like my mom could have said something like that. And I just heard her saying it. It was the weirdest thing.
She would. Me and Ondine are.
What the fuck?
Because she does teach you how to have boundaries.
Yeah.
We talked about that at dinner.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, the girl in me that was wounded because of growing up with an abusive father and only ever having abusive, toxic relationship with men froze and was like, oh, this is bad. But also, it was a virtual relationship. It was remote, which provided safety. And I own my company.
Yeah.
I'm in control.
You're in control.
You own the frame.
I own the frame. I own who I work with. I own who pays me. I own who doesn't pay me. I own who I say yes to. Which is why I felt like it was important for you to hear that you have a choice.
Yeah.
Even if it ever went down that road, you have the power now to say, nope, that does not feel comfortable. And I'm not going to assume that was your intent, but I know that you would also agree that that would be really inappropriate. And that's what I'm feeling right now. So I don't think this is a relationship worth continuing.
Wow.
Done.
You can cut it off like that.
Wow.
You have the power now.
Wow. Because I also practice that.
You sure do.
I do that.
You've done it.
I've done that.
Hell yeah.
Because what I was talking about earlier, some of the ground rules in the walks, all of them came from me wanting to create my perfect 2 hours. So I give a speech for about 5 minutes where I run through all of the rules of the space. And one of the rules, it's number 4, is like no selling, promoting, or speed dating. Because in the beginning of the walks 1 through 30, men would come on the walks romantically interested in me. And I was a very different person back in 2022 when I started the walks. And I was an avoider. And I was a people pleaser. And I didn't tell the truth. So when these guys would come, and it was always indirect. It was very rarely like they would show up and say, I want to take you on a date. It was always like these slow moving, like almost made me excruciatingly anxious. It would like build to the moment. And I could tell because I'm very hypervigilant. And that's just what happens when safety is your core wound, is you just pay really close attention to people. And I just got really good at pattern matching and being like, oh, okay, every time a guy comes into my field and starts acting in these very specific ways, he's going to make a move on me.
You were being indirect with yourself. And so the men in your life were doing exactly the same and mirroring that.
They were mirroring my indirect
boomerang.
Of course they were. Of course they were. Because what I could have done back then is I could have taken control of the frame and said what you just said and said, hey, I don't know if this is, your intention or if you're romantically interested in me, but I don't have the same feelings. And I'm not interested in you. Just wanted to say, I don't know if that's your intention, but I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
I could have ended my own suffering right there with that.
Wow.
But instead, I let myself live in the suffering
Wow.
Of not saying the truth.
of not saying and owning my truth and living in the endless anxiety
Yep.
of
I know
their
it.
indirectness, because I was living in the endless anxiety of my indirectness.
I 100% get it.
And
And-
so, please go.
Oh, and so if someone pays you money
Yeah.
to work with you and you feel that, it's like, I owe it to you. You've paid me.
Yeah.
I'm stuck here. I feel obligated to serve you. When the frame and the ground rules for working with you one-on-one can be, one of them can be, if I ever feel any inkling
Wow.
of
Incredible.
romantic
Wow.
gesture
Incredible.
or infatuation,
Incredible.
Ground rules.
I will not work with you and you will not get a
Yeah.
refund.
Wow, you're so right.
Wow.
Wow, you're
And
so
you will
right.
not get a
Oh,
refund.
I feel fine.
Yeah, drop the
That's
hammer.
Very important.
Drop the hammer, and you will not get a refund.
Very
And
important.
you will not get a refund.
Keep that bag. Keep that. Come on, Tej.
Exactly.
Round rule. If I ever feel that in any way, which is my judgment, not yours, we will no
Wow.
longer work together and you will not get a refund.
My judgment, not yours.
Not yours. If I ever feel that,
Yeah.
and you'll be integral, but if I ever feel that, we're done.
That's really beautiful, because it makes me realize this reason for being situation
Mhm.
happened live in this room
Wow.
where I walked through it. Talia did the process on me, unplanned. And the core wound that is my reason for being is safety,
Mm-hmm.
because that is the one thing I did not fully feel as a
Mhm.
child. Safety to be myself,
Right.
to be myself in my fullness, in all of my emotions, in my good and bad and my imperfections. And so what you lacked as a child is what you can give to others, because you know it more intimately than anyone.
That's what you're here to give.
And I just had this click happen when you were speaking, where I realized that the ground rules are how I create safety for everyone in the
That's right.
space.
For everyone in the space, not just for you.
For
But
everyone in the
including you.
space. And this is very true, because there
Absolutely.
are rules that you may not see yourself in, because you're not like that. That would not be your intention. But we have varying levels of consciousness at play
Mhm.
here. So there are people who will come into the space
Right.
and they will be like, oh, this is just a normal event, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to a normal happy hour, if I'm going to a normal event of any kind, I can put my own agenda on this space.
Mhm.
And when I'm there on the walk, it's like, no, you're in this frame with these rules. And you're going to play by these rules that keeps everyone safe, or you can leave. And I enforce on these rules. And I've had very interesting, sometimes uncomfortable, but very wonderful conversations where I bring the truth to somebody who did not play by the rules. And I'm realizing as you're speaking that the ground rules would also solve my fears with coaching.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that I could do that.
Mhm.
And it brings, this is an interesting, like, of course, perfect timing. There's a walk chapter in San Francisco led by an amazing woman named Elle Block.
Mhm.
Thank you, Adele.
Shout out Adele.
She's incredible. And we coach all the time. She'll come to me and be like, these things happen on my walk. What would you do? And these are always so fun, because at this point, I've run into just about anything under the sun that could happen interpersonally. I mean, anything. So she comes to me, and every week it's something a little bit different. But this last week, it was about people coming into the space who aren't fitting the values of curiosity, kindness, and open-mindedness. And she's feeling stuck with them in this space, because she's like, they're multiplying. There's somebody
Wow.
who's misaligned, who brings his roommate who's
Wow.
also misaligned. And you know what I always say? People bring their state
Mhm.
Right.
Wow.
as a +1.
Parse.
Wow.
true.
That's a tweet.
Universal rule, what I've noticed in
It's
hosting
really true.
events is when someone brings a +1, they bring themselves.
100%.
They bring their consciousness.
Yep.
It always holds. And so she's like, this guy who I find really hard to connect with, he's not very open-minded. Sometimes he walks alone. I don't know why he keeps coming. And then he brought a +1 and the guy is the same.
Mhm.
And it's like, they're multiplying, Elle. Like, what do I do?
Tell the truth.
And exactly. And I'm sitting there
Shout
and
out to
I
him.
can coach her so easily. And it's like, this is so interesting, because I could actually coach myself on the same thing that I'm coaching her. Sometimes it's easier to see it for someone else. But I was telling her, was like, Adele, this is your space. You call the shots. People can't just be in your space at your event, in your frame, unless you allow them to be. You don't owe them anything. If they're not fitting the values of the space, just because it's a free and open event doesn't mean that it's for everyone. You have complete control to have a conversation with this person and say exactly what's on your heart, exactly what you're feeling. What if you were to go to him and say, hey, I've noticed these certain things. I've noticed that you bring topics that are a little bit jokey and it kind of throws off the energy in the space. And I wonder, like, what keeps you coming here? Open the conversation and see what happens. So she did it. And it went very well. This guy is super excited and he's like, you know what? I can track the depth of my topics over time. And I didn't realize, I thought I didn't know how deep everyone wanted to go. So I was playing it safe.
Oh, wow.
By bringing a jokey topic. But what I realize is that when I bring shallow, people meet me with shallow. Because that's just what happens. If you're not willing to be deep, to create depth in a conversation, no one's going to match you there.
How's the weather?
How's the weather is going to get, wow, isn't it beautiful outside?
Yeah.
It's not going to get, what's your relationship with your mom? It's not getting that, right? It's like you're setting the frame in every question you're asking and your energy. So she had this conversation with him. She approached it head on and it went fantastic. And she felt so relieved, so much better. And I realized that I can take this same advice and apply it to coaching because of what you just said. It's like and I think women have this blind spot more so than men.
Absolutely.
Is that there's a lack of true ownership of what you've created when you're a woman, especially when it's relationship oriented. Because I think emotional labor is not valued to the same extent that mental labor is valued in today's society. And so when you walk into a space hosted by a woman, you feel the difference. I'm saying this objectively because I did field research on this. I told Danny this. Before I started hosting the walks, I went to, I think, 50 events with a notebook with like field notes. And I wrote down, in a rubric, I look for specific things. I was like, okay, this is what the host was. This was the host gender. I was paying attention to every aspect of the event and then how I felt. Did I feel included? Did I feel like I belonged? What was my emotional state?
Let me ask you this. Do you think now, knowing what we know about Hawkins and the map of consciousness, that what you were actually feeling was that women have higher consciousness than men on average?
Yes.
Because they are more leading with love and thinking about love than men are?
And the feeling.
They're leading with feelings.
Women are leading more with the feeling than men. Men are leading more with the mind.
But do you think that if a man with a higher consciousness versus a woman with a lower consciousness would create a more loving space?
Absolutely.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
This is like before consciousness was even in my awareness. This was my working theory, because this was back in 2022 when I did all this field research. And what I found, like every single event I'd go to, and there aren't very many hosted by women, by the way, which I just think is interesting. But when I'd step into a man's space, what I notice is a couple of things. You'd see men hosts come more from ego than heart. So usually they'd give some speech in front of everybody at the event, but it was more like a, kind of buddy, like, hey, thanks for coming, everybody. Like, we're gonna have a great time. Like, thanks so much, guys. Yeah, get it. And I'd be like, bro, what was the point of that? It's like there's no like rules. There's no like, this is why we're here. There's no intention. It's just like a pat on the back speech. I notice this every time. And then here's the other thing. The host would almost always just talk to people they knew. This was the biggest indicator for me. When it was a man host, they would be in the corner in the same group of men who they clearly knew away from everyone else. And as a new attendee, and I would pay attention to both how I was treated as a woman and how other people were treated, both men and women. And what I noticed is most men hosts would not go engage new people unless they were women.
Wow.
Wow. And this is the interesting thing about hosting a run now and hosting a weekly event is I make sure to introduce myself to every new person that comes in.
Wow.
Because of you, because you told me to do that,
Wow.
or you told me that you do that, and
I do that on every walk. I have a mission to say hello to every person, and there's like 100 people who come.
Wow.
Yeah, now
It's very hard,
Yeah.
but I
Wow.
will it's very important to me because when I was going to events, I
It's
watched
incredible.
as people would be invisible.
Mhm.
And here's the interesting thing. It wasn't usually me because I would always be greeted.
Mm.
Usually I was one of the only women in the
Very
space,
interesting.
which was interesting, but I could zoom out of myself and say,
Hmm.
I'm going to let me look around and see there's a very telltale sign of someone who's new at an event. They're usually awkward.
Mhm.
They're usually standing in the corner. They're not talking to anyone. They're waiting to be engaged. And what I became very aware of is that when you walk into a space and you see that there are very clearly people there for the first time who are not being engaged, not being included, and the host is talking to their friends, they are missing a golden opportunity to make that person feel seen and heard and loved. And so I made it my imperative for my events to make sure no one, as much as I could help it, felt that. Because that feeling is exactly how I felt going to 50 meetups when I first moved to
Wow.
Austin.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
And it's like, that is how you make someone feel safe in a space, is you just see them, even if it's for 15 seconds. So when I shared this with Danny, like a lot of this field research brought my awareness to all of this. It's like, this is where people are missing the mark, and it's really predictable.
It is.
And there's patterns to it. So I created this rubric of like, these are the events that I felt the worst at. Like, I felt excluded. I felt shame. I felt like othered.
Hmm.
You know, what were the inputs of feeling othered? And then on the contrary, what are the inputs of feeling seen, included, like you belong? And I took all of those inputs and put it in my own event. And that's what the walks are.
That was a master class in actually creating something.
Absolutely.
Oh
She
my
just
God!
got down.
People need to rewind.
That was a master class. My business mind was like, this is off the charts.
Is it? Wow.
And kudos to
Absolutely.
you,
Great.
by the way, for tweeting out recently. Someone wanted your help on community building.
Yes.
You're like, I charge for
Oh, yeah,
that.
You
I
know
saw
what's
it.
Yeah.
funny is we were at that end of the walk, and
Did you see
never
that
leave
happen?
like that.
Oh, I was abrupt.
You never, she
abrupt
never
with it.
would leave without like coming over and saying bye, or like you're usually the last one standing, and you like trotted across the parking lot, and I noticed that something happened, but I didn't know what until I read the tweet, and I was like, wow.
Starting to know your worth.
Well, this is what I'm going to break this down because this was interesting. And this is what's amazing about doing like a regular commitment like this when you're when you're with people, is people are just mirrors and they're constantly reflecting things to you. And I'm sitting here in this conversation, we're chopping it up. We're like laughing and the jokes are building. And there's this woman who comes into the group and starts asking me questions. And it's like not matching the energy of the conversation. And I'm going to entertain it a little bit, but usually it starts like this. So how did you start this? It's usually, I mean, my mind, I really have a good time identifying patterns. I have a very good memory. So that's why this field research thing is like right up my alley, because it's just how my mind works. So usually someone will say, how did you start this? And then I'll answer. And then it goes like one of two paths. It's like genuine curiosity or like free consulting.
Yeah.
And it hits me immediately which path they're going to go down. And this specific woman was like trying to dig, and then I could feel it. So I was like, oh, you know, what's inspiring these questions? And she was like, oh, well, I'm actually going to build my own community around dating. And like, I'd love to pick your brain on it. And I'm like, oh, actually, I don't do that for free.
Starting to own her worth.
Right.
Amazing.
Because I have no desire. And then also we're having this great conversation. We're chopping it up and I'm having a good time. And I don't want to consult right now.
Right.
I was laughing.
We'll send her this podcast.
I was levitating.
We'll send her the pod.
And then, you know, I can work on this a little bit. My boundaries are getting stronger. You know, I'm new to this. I'm like a boundary baby. I'm trying my
Boundary
and, you know, I'm just out here fighting for my life, you know. So so she says this to me, and I like kind of abrupt with it. I took an out. Like
She
two of the people
fled.
I did kind of fly. I kind of flew. So these two people started dancing And it was Priyav and Julia.
Okay.
And they started dancing and it distracted me. And it was actually such a beautiful gift because I was like, I'm going to force eject. I'm going to use their dance as like a button. I'm going to force eject off this conversation. And I just like exited. And then Julia texted me later and she was like, I'm so sorry if like we offended you by dancing. I was like, no, Julia, that was a gift. Like, I love that. I needed to get out of there. Like, thank you for giving me the impetus to just like rock it out of there. So anyway, long story short, that was a amazing moment where I actually had boundaries and I said the boundary. And every time I say the boundary, I get stronger.
That's right. That's right.
Amen.
Isn't it beautiful?
How was it like to actually go through that process and set that boundary? It's like breaking a pattern from the past.
Yes. I think it felt overwhelmed. Like I was buzzing afterwards. Like I was skipping away afterwards because I realized I did what I wanted.
Wow.
Yes.
And that sounds really simple.
Amen.
Yeah.
But like when you've lived so many years not doing what you actually want and sacrificing your desire for someone else's desire. It's like that moment when I just said what I said and just stood on business and was like, I have no desire to consult for free right now or ever, with a smile and with kindness. And it was a little awkward because I said it and then I started to walk away and she felt a little bad maybe. And I say this with no judgment. I mean, God bless her. Like I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, you have someone standing in front of you who's like built something really cool and you admire them and you want to try to ask questions about it. So like, this is no judgment. But as I'm walking away, she was like, oh, like, can we get lunch? Or I like to pick your brain. I'm like, actually, I don't do that for free. And she's like, oh, well, can I come back on the walk and we can talk there? And I'm like, no, I don't like to talk about that on the walks. Like I come here for a specific intention and it's to talk about whatever feels good to me. And I don't want to consult on my walks.
Wow.
And so there was like a little bit of a friction moment where she realized like, oh, maybe I offended her. And she didn't offend me. I just wanted to stand in my truth. And my truth is I don't want to consult for free. And like, I love that you admire what I've built, but I also recognize I do not want to do this right now. So as I'm walking away and there's a little bit of just a little bit of I'm like, wow, in the past, I might have tried to like fawn and I might try to be like, it's okay. Like, no. And it was like, no, actually, I just don't want to do this. Bye. Yeah. And it's like, and also no harm, no foul. Like, I love you. And and if I saw her, I give her a giant hug and thank you. It's like, I love the intent behind it, but I also recognize that like, if I don't value my own time, who will?
Right.
If I don't put a value on my consulting, who will? Who's going to pay for my consult? I mean, it's actually disrespectful to anyone who pays me for my time for me to give it to you for free. That helped me shift out of the frame, is that it's no longer disrespectful to myself. It's actually disrespectful to any of my clients who pay their hard-earned money for my thoughts. If I'm just going to walk around sharing all this for free with everybody, if you can get, a session, a 30-minute, an hour-long session,
if you
somebody
take that
else.
Yeah. Wait, you have clients?
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying, I'm just asking.
She works
Like, did I miss the part?
I
I was like, wait, are we paying? Are we getting paid? Yeah.
Life moves fast when you tell the truth.
Thank you, Danny.
It's so incredible. Like
Gotta be
that
the
woman,
first line of your book.
she gave you such an incredible gift to actually practice setting
She
boundaries,
did.
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. It's like, it's such a gift. And that's why like that moment was so exciting because in the past, here's what I would do. And I think this is why I walked away feeling like buzzing, because I would stay after the walks. And Talia said this, last man standing, for real. I'd be in that parking lot until like 3 p.m. The walk ends at like 10:30. Just
Literally.
giving, like just
Wow.
giving people advice and just letting, because I'm in flow state when I do that. So I would give and give and give, and people would ask me all these questions, and it would just never end. And because when I get on a tear, I can just keep going, and it feels really good. And it's not me; it's like something, a spirit is moving through me. So it's very hard for me to actually put like the brakes on myself. And so I'll just give so openly and freely, and then it'll be like 3 p.m. and I'll get in my car and I will literally like sink into my seat because I'm so tired.
Wow.
It's like, it feels like there was so much moving, and then I'll be there and I'll be like, okay, I don't regret anything that just happened, but like, I can't just give that much of myself like that again. Like in an open, free frame. It's like, I give so much of myself for free already.
Sounds like you're coaching yourself right now.
Right. Well, you know I do this.
That's what I was noticing. Exactly.
Dang. Well, you know I do
Just
this.
replay this for yourself.
Yeah, I gotta just listen to this. This is my daily affirmation track that I'm just recording. But anyway, enough of me coaching myself. Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, I'm actually curious. I love you so much.
I can just keep going.
I'm actually curious,
We love it.
Tej, because, well, I have so many questions for you because this is such an honor to be here with you on your first live podcast.
Wow.
What better people to do it with?
I mean, so I would like to hear on the topic of money, how you look at money.
Oh, that's a great question.
What a profound question.
I keep touching this mic. I'm so sorry, y'all. Like,
That gets edited out.
okay, great.
I feel like my relationship with money has evolved throughout the years. In the beginning, when I was like 14, when I started with online business, I just was like, it was just pure desperation. I was like, I just need to make this work so I don't have to go down the 9-to-5 path. Like that just felt like prison to me. When I was 12, I would take like the SkyTrain just to see the faces of the adults on the train to see if they had any zest in their eyes.
Wow.
Because I was like, this is the path I'm headed down. If I don't see any zest, like I don't want to live this life.
Wow.
I'd rather just like check out. Like if I can fast forward a life and know how it goes, there's no point in living it. There's no magic. There's no adventure. There's no anything can happen in any moment type of energy. And that's what I sensed. Now, maybe it was Monday morning. Maybe people were hungover, right? But I saw no zest in their eyes.
Wow.
So at 14, I was like, dude, my back's against the wall. I just need to make money. I just need to figure this out. So it was like pure desperation, just like trying a bunch of different things. And then, you know, like I made a little bit of money, but nothing like crazy. But then throughout the years, what I realized was whether it's business or whether it's the retreat that Danny's doing, or whether it's your walks or whether it's your communication coaching, essentially what people are seeking is they're seeking source through product. Even when you open up an Apple product, you feel joy, you feel the qualities of being, you feel love, and you feel ecstasy. And I feel like Steve Jobs actually did that through product. And it's like, yes, you're selling an iPhone or you're selling a MacBook, but the way it's packaged, when you open it, you experience a teleportation to a new realm almost. And that's what people become addicted to. They're like, I'm buying these products. Even when people buy stuff, it's like they feel one way, then they buy something to feel better. What is that? They're raising their consciousness through buying. Now, of course, we can say that's like primitive. You know, there's better ways to just sit in silence. Like we can say that. But for somebody that's at like 200 and they feel like shit, they'll buy something to get to 250.
Wow.
And whatever.
Do they have to keep buying?
If it's the retreat and the But then when I started channeling that energy in business and I started viewing money as like the spiritual nutrients that were being created through business, that's when like money it was just like, there's no difference between just being in presence and like doing a business calling, making like, you know, infinite amounts of money or selling something. And it just felt very natural and very real. Like it felt wrong to resist money because that was almost placing it on a pedestal. Like money is something special. Like it's like something up here.
Above me.
Yeah, exactly.
Push it away.
Wow.
But like when you just accept it and it's just like, you know, there's no difference between this present moment and money. It's the same flow of energy.
Wow.
And when you just go into that zone, like it's remarkable what happens. I remember at the time, I was like trying to make enough money so I could show to my parents that, hey, like I made enough, like the same as an accountant or an investment banker would make. And I remember it was like when I was first getting into the direct response world for real, I ended up making like the yearly salary of like an accountant in like 4 hours. And I was like, this just completely broke all my beliefs about money.
Incredible.
Like I feel like money is what they use to really keep people in a very limited state of consciousness, and money becomes people's god.
Absolutely.
And when you take money off the pedestal, you're like, yo, this world is so beautiful, so ecstatic. Like, why was I worshiping money? Let me worship presence. And from there, everything flows, including money. And it's the easiest to make. Like, I always say everything is easy and making money is the easiest. And I have people in my life, they're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? People are struggling. They're going through this. They're going through that. But it's like difficult for me because I'm like, it's because you think it's so hard to make money that you struggle to make money. But I can't say that because it's like, out of left field. So I just hold space, like you were saying. You can't give advice. You just chill there and you're like, yeah, I understand.
Wow.
You
So they
just
ask you
sit
about it
in
on the pod.
silence until I come on my first live pod, and I'm like, here's the truth
Let it
about
rip.
money, guys.
That is incredible. What a belief system.
And how is that manifested? So the accountant, you made more money in a single weekend than
4 hours. you
in
said.
4 hours than an accountant, and like that was at one point in the journey.
Yes,
How is that manifested since then?
exactly. So that was the beginning. That was like, so I grew up like my parents like came to Canada. They had like $10 in their pockets. So they were on like welfare. So the programming that I was taught was just like my mom would go to Costco and spend like 30 minutes after just analyzing the bill for any mistakes. To this day, she does that. Right. And I would be like, man, I hope there's not a mistake because I'm going to have to go back and talk to this Costco worker. And so embarrassing. But like that was the vibe that I was in.
Wow.
And, even to this day, like my programming from my parents is essentially like every dollar is so significant. And I get it, but it felt like because you believe every dollar is so significant, it's why it's so hard to make money.
Yeah.
Because you place so much importance on this thing. And it's like so out of your reach that it's like impossible. So even if they were to like imagine themselves with like a fuck ton of money, it's so hard for them. They can't hold that. Just like people can't hold love, they can't hold money.
Because it's the same.
Exactly. I see no difference.
Wow.
In the beginning was like the initial breaking of the programming, breaking of the paradigms. And it felt like I'm in the real world. And I've just been praying to this false God that's not even real. And I've been living under this spell. And it's all bullshit. It's all this spell that we're just plugged into and we live our entire life just bowing down to it. And I'm like, if I truly know what money is, and I respect this, I just treat it like it's just anything, like a glass of water. I had a tweet one time where I was like, making money is as easy as making a cup of coffee. And that's how I was starting to feel. Like there's no difference. And of course, the industry you pick, right, it has a large role. Like if there's potential to make a lot of money, that obviously plays a role. But I think it's because of thinking like this that you actually find those industries. As opposed to, just counting pennies and just like, I hate this mentality where it's just like we're fucking peasants. Like we are not fucking peasants. We are kings and queens and it's time to fucking rise the fuck up and wake up to who we are. And I think it starts with money because money is what they really use to, I say I don't know who the fuck they are. I just like saying that. But I feel like that's like what is used to really keep our consciousness enslaved.
It is.
Because if you don't have money, then it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You spend your entire life trying to make money as opposed to realizing the true gift is to know yourself as love and presence and ecstasy. But if somebody's struggling to pay the bills, it's like, I'm not going to talk to him about love. He doesn't give a fuck about love.
It's a survival paradigm like we talked about.
Exactly.
Earlier.
Exactly.
If you have 78% of the population living in survival, it's like
Exactly.
that. What do you do?
So how did you break that programming for yourself?
Yeah.
I would do small things and I got a lot of flack from it from my parents. But for instance, like I swear to this day, I've never ever like look, even when I had like negative money in my bank account, when my shit was hitting overdraft, I would just tap my card and my philosophy was if it works. If it goes through, it goes through. Otherwise, something's wrong with the machine. Something's wrong with the machine, right?
Epic.
That's like what I would do. And like I remember I would go into like even like let's say I'm getting gas, I would go into like the Chevron or whatever, buy a drink or buy something. Then I would go back into the car and my mom would be like, oh, how much was that? And I literally didn't know how much it was.
Wow.
And she would be like, are you stupid? Like, how do you not know? Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, you don't respect money at all. Like, that's what she would say to me. And I always felt like, it was just whatever. It was just part of the flow of life. Like, I just went inside, I got a drink and I just tapped the card and luckily I went through. And just by doing those small things, like it just taught me that, you know, like this is not going to be my God. I'm not going to bow down to this like everybody else bows down to it.
Do you think it was because your parents counted everything that you wanted to resist that programming?
I think so, because I think like you learn a lot from your environment. And I learned that as they were counting everything, who they were being was like, because from a very young age, I always felt like we were from a royal place. Like we come from nobility and we come from honor and we come from dignity. And then somehow I landed on this planet and people are counting pennies.
Wow.
And I'm like, this isn't right. Like it doesn't reflect the truth of you. Just feel into the energy of counting pennies. Of course you got to, like, of course, if you're struggling, like I didn't have any responsibilities. I was a kid and I acknowledge that. That's the truth of the reality of that situation. I was young. If I was older and I had kids or whatever, I would probably count pennies too, because now it's bigger than me. Right. But when I was younger, when I saw my mom, like it would break my heart to like see her counting pennies. It's like, dude, this isn't real. You know, it's like, imagine I invent some script and I'm like, Danny, you're living in a reality where the sky is black and you go your entire life thinking the sky is black. And one day you wake up and the sky was actually blue. That's like, I think what happens with money. Like we're taught like it's so hard to get and it's impossible and put it on a pedestal and give up 40 years of your life. And maybe one day, you know, you'll get it. And it's like, why? Is that why I'm here? If I truly have one shot at this video game of life, which I personally don't believe. But if you truly believe,
We've all been here many times.
Which if you truly believe you only have one shot at the video game of life, then why operate with that paradigm?
So I have a really interesting question for you. As you're talking about your mother counting money, it's flashing me back to my mother doing the same my whole childhood. She was a single mom, was basically the only one providing for us, and we were constantly moving. We're evicted from a house once. Like it was constant, like we are going to end up on the streets. And she would count when I'd ask her for new shoes for school, if my shoes were all messed up, she would count out loud. Like she'd be like, well, if I get you the shoes, then I won't have enough money for groceries and the rent costs this much. And she would go on this just like monologue of counting. And as a child, I felt really angry about that because I'd be like, it's not my responsibility to know that. But what you're saying, what the response in you was not anger, it was sadness. And I'm really curious if you know where the empathy and like where that came from in you at such a young age.
Yeah, it's interesting. You like, this is why they call it the truth triangle, right?
Thank you, God.
It just happens that way because we're so connected.
Yeah. I mean, even as you like pointed that out, I noticed like just like tears welling up in my eyes when you said the sadness, because it feels like for the bulk of my life, I've been operating with this like invisible sadness. And it feels like you're born into a place where people don't realize it's heaven and they're taking it to be hell. And nobody, you know, it's like we don't have the eyes to see, myself included. I'm not saying I'm in heaven. But ever since a young kid, and I think it also helps being the youngest as well. Like I didn't have, you know, like my older brother was the one that my parents put a lot of responsibility on. So I had a lot of space to just be with what was arising, I guess, as a kid. Whereas like my older brother didn't have that luxury, or my sister. And I just felt this overwhelming sadness. And it felt like, even like what, for instance, when I referenced that photo, like there was sadness in your eyes in the original photo. And it felt like, dude, like, I know my brother from another life and this isn't who he is. And he's sad because nobody else is recognizing who he truly is. Nobody has seen his true face. Wow. And like, when you see somebody's true face, you just see them shine with so much light. And it's like, that's like what restores me back to life. So like earlier when it's like, yo, like, did you do this consciously? Like, I probably had to do that to get fucking enlivened myself.
Wow.
I had to bring Danny to life for me to come alive.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a quenching of that underlining sadness. But I find that sadness to be so crucial because it's such a strong sign for me that we're actually meant for something so much more magical and so much more infinite than what is actually happening. And when I came to Austin, this way it's been like I literally have been shaking nonstop. It's like, these people get it. These people are, you know, living it.
Wow.
And To me, I was telling Danny, Austin feels like an experiment in what can actually happen when people are not interfered with, when their consciousness is just allowed to be open and free. And let's see what that society looks like.
Oh my God. That's exactly what Austin is.
Wow.
Tej, you just said something that gave me like full on goosebumps like 15 seconds ago. You said, I've always felt that sadness, like you feel sadness is a really critical part to you being able to like look at somebody and really see their real face. And the question that I always ask in Visceral around the communication stuff is what breaks your heart? Like what
I love it.
breaks your heart and makes something move in you so that when you speak, you can move other people. And so the beauty of the fact that you have connected with that since you were a child and your name means light, like, come on. That's so beautiful. And it just gave me like serious chills.
I actually think you're the most powerful when your heart is broken.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where the light enters you, is where the heart is broken.
It's like the Rumi quote. You have to keep breaking your heart until it opens.
Exactly.
And it's so hard when you've been, like, I feel like I've been in a state of love and like absolute bliss for like years. And now my heart's like cracking at the moment in my life. And I'm like, wait, I want to go back to the love. And it's like, what you just said is so true, because even when you hit this like peak of like life is heaven on earth, it's like that's when you probably on some level deep down, when I'll speak for me, I feel like I asked for it in some way, where I'm like, oh, I want more love. I want to feel full love. Then like crack me again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's so hard sometimes. Like it's so hard, but what you just said is so beautiful because it feels so true.
I feel like the extent of your love is a reflection of how willing you are to be cracked wide open.
You're making me cry. You're so, like, everything that comes out of your mouth is just so true and holy.
Even in this space, I feel like such a strong depth and such a strong stillness in this space, and just being with you three. Like it just feels like we're outside of time and space right now. How are you guys feeling in this moment? I'm curious.
Overwhelmed with the gratitude.
It reminds me of what you just said and what you just said. There was this really profound moment after a recent walk where this woman came up to me right in the beginning in the coffee shop. And like I said, I like to greet everybody. And I just gave her a hug. I give everyone a hug. And some people don't like that, but they get it anyway. You know, got to give them the love. And you know.
They're the ones that need it the most.
They do.
Exactly.
They really
Exactly. And so she, in this moment, looks me in the eye and she's like, wow, you have a really special energy.
That's right.
And then I was like, oh, I'm going to go say hi to everybody, but like, come find me. And of course, she didn't find me on the walk because I'm floating around, you know. And at the end, she comes up to me and she's like, I just have to tell you, I'm in talent acquisition and I've only ever felt that way with one other person in my life. Like the electric presence and the peace and the light in your eyes hit me immediately. And I feel like you're meant to tell me something today. And so I just sat there and listened. And she just opened up to me about how, very similar to what you just said, she thought that she had reached the peak of love and happiness. And then she did Bufo, which is this frog medicine. And all of these cracks started opening. And the light shone on all these dark places, these dark cracks she ignored and pushed away. And the way she described it was like they were such small cracks that you could ignore them. But doing this Bufo brought it all to the surface. All of the small cracks made the dam break. And she was flooded with this tsunami of pain. And she was like, God, like, can't I just go back to the happiness
Yeah.
and the joy that I felt a year ago. Like, I thought I wanted this, but I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't want to look at all of this. Like, it was enough back then. And I told her something in the moment that like made her just start sobbing. I was like, you have not experienced the ceiling of your happiness and joy. You asked to feel even more, to feel it even deeper. And then that's exactly what you got.
Yep.
Wow.
You got cracked open again. All of the cracks were exposed to feel that tsunami of pain. And on the other end of that tsunami of pain is this flood of light that you've never experienced before. And she just started crying and she's like, that's what I needed to hear.
Wow.
Like, that gave me the hope to know that, like, you're right. I asked for this. And like, after this pain will come this profound light. And I was like, yes. And it was amazing. And it just reminded me exactly of what you just said. It was such a beautiful moment.
Well, it's really interesting because as you were talking, it made me connect something in my own brain of I was in like massive love, like in a state of like just a high state of love. And in that state, I was still numbing other pain. So like the pain was still there, but I was numbing it. And it's really interesting when you numb a negative emotion, you numb the positive. Like you numb one emotion, you numb it all. Like you don't exist really in parts. Like you are one being as the container of all these emotions and parts. And so it's funny because maybe we think that we're at the peak of it, but like if you're numbing the pain or if there's pain that's yet to be expressed and felt in the cracks, you're just like trying to fill the cracks with some whatever, plaster, cement or whatever, then you aren't actually feeling the peak of love because you're also numbing love, which is just interesting.
So you're saying like suppression of the parts equals suppression of the whole.
100%. That's what I'm experiencing right now and realizing and getting more freedom around. Because I'm calling back all of these parts of me that I suppressed or denied life to, and I'm calling them back. And all of the other parts of me that I had nurtured are like, they're just skyrocketing in joy and love. They're like, oh, thank you. You're calling back all these parts. So that's what it feels like. And it sometimes is still hard, but I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to love all the cracks and all the parts of me that I just haven't like given life to.
It's like you're retrieving parts of your soul.
Yeah.
That were like time capsuled in these moments of pain. How are you doing that?
How am I doing that? Well, I feel like the way I've done it my whole life was in learning from the pain. Like there's something to learn from the pain. The pain is a teacher. The pain is my wisest teacher. I'm going to learn something from it. And that was a lot of mental, emotional processing. And I feel like these parts of me, like to be specific, a part of me that's really fucking angry and really sad and is mourning something or just feels like I could never speak. And I'm fucking angry about that. Those parts of me don't have much to teach me. Those parts of me just want to be felt. And so I'm finally giving them the space to express themselves, which looks like, for anyone actually curious, it looks like me asking Max, my partner, to leave the house for an hour. And I'm fucking screaming, like just letting myself, and it's not forced. Like I have somebody that's teaching me this right now. Shout out to Yosef. He is helping me connect with with my body, like do a body scan and just become aware and notice where I feel heavy or where I feel just not freedom or like, no, there isn't like free flow. Where am I feeling stuck? And then he's helping me to identify with that and just notice it and now name it. Okay, what does it feel like? What does it look like? What is the texture? What's the shape? What's the image of it? And to just like embody it. And then through that, literally, I'll just be like, I just want to yell. He's like, well, then that's what it wants to do. And I'll just yell. Like I've never yelled in my life. And at first, yelling felt so scary. So I would mute the sound with my breath.
Wow.
And I would just breathe out and exhale. And now I'm like learning that I can just scream. And it feels so good. And at a certain point, my body just takes over. Like the emotions take over and they're like, finally, like you've given us the reins. We just need to move. And I'm just yelling or punching something. I came back from LA and I used to resist this work a lot because I was afraid of the feelings. And I was afraid that it would take me away from the state of love that I still feel. And now I can't wait to do it. I got back from LA, had a really difficult experience there, and I could not wait. I got back Thursday at midnight. Friday morning, Max had a meeting. And like now I also scream when he's around. It's great. And I just couldn't wait. I just sort of hysterically went right into it. And I was just crying. And my body was like this on my bed. And I was just like complete surrender to God, crying and just like grieving something that had happened. And then I immediately felt at peace. And I was like, that was good. And I got off the bed and I felt so clear and so complete with everything that happened. I felt so much peace.
It's so interesting because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how the lower states just need to be felt.
They need to
and
be
seen.
That's so true.
And that's true in your body as well.
That's so true. The lower states just need to be felt. And when you are at a higher consciousness level where you're in love or at peace, you forget that they just need to be felt and you try to bring them up the ladder of consciousness to love. And it's like, no, you're right. That's so profound.
Yeah.
And it reminds me too of what you said around people don't know how to hold space for the top ones.
Yeah.
Part of that is probably because they don't think that they can maintain it. It's not just the fact that it's uncomfortable. It's like, well, if you feel love and then you feel all this other shit, do you trust yourself that you'll know how to get back to love?
Yeah.
I think what you just go on.
Oh, no, please.
No, what I was going to say was I think what you just broke down is actually the process for raising your consciousness level. And I feel like what I see sometimes, and I'm guilty of it as well, is I think when you read about spirituality, you read about love and light and bliss, and you read about all these qualities. And it's true. That's who you are deep down inside, right? That's like your fundamental nature. So then as a response, we think the anger inside of us, the grief, the pain, the suffering needs to be isolated and put in a corner.
Swept under the rug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, imagine a child that's angry and in pain and grieving, and an adult comes and it's like, go in that corner. These emotions aren't allowed here.
It's so true.
And it's what we do to ourselves. And we get sold the spirituality stuff. It's all about love and light. But what you don't realize is the more you feel your anger, the more you feel your aliveness, which is a spiritual quality. The extent of you feeling your anger is the extent to which you can feel aliveness. The extent to which you can grieve is the extent to which you can feel compassion.
So true.
So what I realize is like, we don't even have to get back to love. Love is who we are.
Wow.
If we just feel the lower states with full compassion, like a loving parent that's holding a child that's in pain, like, hey, all is well, come here. And that's what we're doing. We're rescuing those parts inside of us. We're being the mother and father to ourselves that we didn't have because, our parents weren't really enlightened, and no fault of theirs. It's just the society that we're in. And I feel like once you start doing that, you realize like, it's so beautiful to scream and like kick and hit and be like, fuck this shit. Right?
Wow.
And we can't say that in society, but once you start saying that, then the next day you're just fucking walking around feeling alive and shit.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of, can I share something?
Sure.
That's so interesting that I think a lot of people will see themselves through. You literally just made me realize that I've never done that.
Done what?
I've never done what I'm doing now, which is to just scream and feel the anger. When I started, I was 20 years old and I was in a fuck ton of pain, like a lot of pain. I was like living hell. And I found through my mom, I found Tony Robbins. She introduced me to Esther Hicks and all of the really high consciousness stuff. And I felt so ungrounded in life that I just went right up there. And I was like, oh, this is the light. I'm going to psych myself up to a state of gratitude and a state of love. And I never felt the feelings. And then I wanted to start making money to feel physically secure. So then I had the ambition of an entrepreneur plus these spiritual tools, like you just said. And I committed to this agreement. It was literally 2015. It was $30,000 for this mastermind. It was a trauma therapy program that I needed to be the patient of. He was teaching this stuff to other doctors. It was the first commitment I ever made that forced me to outgrow my beliefs around money because it was always unavailable and I was always broke. And I had this very strong intuition that I needed to say yes to this program. The commitment was $2,000 a month, and 6 months it had to be paid in full. I was making $400 a month, like literally making nothing.
Wow.
And I said yes to it. And I had 4 weeks. It was December 1st of 2014. The contract started January 1st of 2015. And I had to convince myself that it was possible because my integrity was everything. So I swept all the pain away.
I love this energy. Go on.
And then I just didn't count the fucking money. I stashed it into my dorm room drawer, in my desk drawer, because if I counted it, I knew I'd go back into scarcity. So I shoved the cash and I shoved the checks that, by the way, I was making because I was babysitting every hour I could on top of being this double major. So I was like making all this extra money. And then New Year's Eve of 2015 or 2014, whatever that is, I sat down on my dorm room and I lit a candle and I pulled all the money out of my drawer and I held my hands and I made sure that my hands touched every single check and bill. And I fucking prayed. And I was like, please God, be enough. Please be more than $2,000. Please be enough. Like, this is the proof that I can do it. And it was like $2,400.86 and $86. $24.86. That was the number I wrote on a piece of paper. And I looked at that and I was like, oh, thank God. I can do it. I can do anything. But even though I was paying for this trauma therapy and I was processing every single day, like deep processing with these techniques, I never felt the feelings because I was always trying to freaking get rid of them so that I could be in this high consciousness state to survive and make money.
Right.
And then that was the next 10 years.
And now you're safe enough to feel that.
And now I'm like, oh, I never did it. I never did the work, which is why I feel ungrounded at times. Which is why Susie called out. She was like, there's a lot of safety issues coming up with you. And I was like, safety issues? What kind of fucking safety issues? And it was emotional safety. I have all this stuff around me because I've done it from pure like power and force at times. And I didn't feel emotionally safe because I never felt the feelings on the lower spectrum. And when I'm saying feel the feelings, it's like I'm screaming until there's nothing fucking left.
Yeah.
And then this release happens and the light shines through my being. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And so it's like, I just feel like that's so important. It was important to share because so many people find consciousness and tools and spiritual tools, like you just said. And like, we're using it and we're being better people and we're being more loving. But sometimes, like me, I bet you there are so many entrepreneurs out there that are using it to just sweep all the shit under the rug.
Exactly.
And not feel the pain that needs to be felt.
Exactly.
And it just catches up to you at a certain point.
Exactly. Even for myself, I noticed like one time I was experiencing like such strong grief, right? And like I was crying and I was like, just very teary-eyed. And like I remember smelling my tears as I was sobbing and experiencing that grief. And the smell was identical to the tears I would smell when I was a little baby.
Oh, wow. My God.
So I feel like these experiences are hardwired into us. They're impressions on our soul. They're impressions on our consciousness. And we can't meditate our way out of it. We can only feel our way out of it.
Yeah.
And I think once you feel it, it's like little bumps on your armor. And when you feel it, you soothe it. And compassion arises to meet the pain. And you become a stronger being for it. So I think holding presence for yourself while you're experiencing the anger, the grief is how healing actually happens. And I think who you become as a result is far infinite than even what the spiritual people tell you.
100%.
Because I feel like what we sometimes fall victim to is like spiritual bypassing, because deep down inside, we know that we are the light. We know we are love. We know we are infinite freedom. So we think we got to take the direct path. We got to go directly to love. But actually, love wants to go through anger.
Yeah.
Because it's so loving. Love wants to go through hell
my
because
God.
it's so loving. Love wants
so
to go through
good.
pain and grief. That's what makes it so fucking loving. Love is unconditional. It doesn't give a fuck if you're angry.
You're
It
dropping
doesn't give a fuck if you're mad. It doesn't give a fuck if you're nervous or
That's
afraid.
so good.
Love wants to hold that. And once you allow yourself to experience that, then you truly realize what love is. And you're like, oh my God, love, I don't have to live in fear. Anything that arises, I naturally meet it with love. And that's like those parts, they become rescued into love. It's not like we're shunning them and leaving them behind. And we're going up the mountain of spirituality and it's like all is well. And those parts are like fucking crying like, what about me, bro? What about me? If all is well, why the fuck am I not with you? Right? But once you like, meet those parts and they're very young, like sometimes I experience like what my mom was feeling when I was in the womb. And like my mom's energy and her stuff. And sometimes it's like my great grandma that I haven't even met.
Oh.
So this goes like both ways. And I think once we free ourselves, we not only free our future children, but also those who have come before us. And I think the way out is through. And the more presence you have, the more love you have, the more naturally, like I'm so curious about like, what is causing you pain in this moment, as opposed to like what's making you full of love? Because if you can tap into what's causing you pain, you'll experience more love when you leave this place. Because love is already what you are. So we need to take the indirect path to love, which is essentially you got to go through hell to experience heaven. And that's what transforms hell into heaven, because you go into hell with love. And in return, it's like, dude, this entire time I've been living in heaven, I didn't even have the fucking eyes to see. Holy fuck, what is this life? What is this reality? Are you fucking kidding me? All I had to do was experience a little bit of shame, a little bit of grief, a little bit of anger.
Wow.
All of programming society tells you don't feel that, bro, because in that is your fucking freedom. And they're like, don't go there, bro. It's not good to feel anger. Like, screaming in your house. Don't do that. Be nice. Be civil. Don't talk too loud. Don't scream. Don't cry.
Be polite.
Don't do anything. And that just keeps you trapped. And then you get these people that think like they're, they look
say
spiritual.
That. Don't say that. We're not allowed to say that in this house. We're not allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you get people that look spiritual on the outside, but inside they're fucking dying and they don't even realize they're dying. And they got to maintain their love as opposed to, dude, I just woke up and love is just flowing out of me. I'm not trying to do this shit. It's just who we are.
Yes.
So good.
This brings something very profound to light. We should put the map on the video at this
Video
point.
King Pablo, you know what to do.
Thank you, Video King, because this is something on every walk I go on, the conversation floats to consciousness, as it does.
Absolutely.
Because what are we doing on this floating rock in space? Like, we're all interconnected. We're all love. Like, let's talk about it. So I will hold court talking about consciousness. And I like to, almost like comedians test their sets, I test how I explain consciousness to like different crowds. And one thing that I find is universal when I'm explaining consciousness, and this is what I do now, I'll bring it up through what I like to call like finding a universal experience. So this could be like, have you ever had distance from a friend, someone you were really close with, and then all of a sudden you drifted apart and you didn't really know why? Like, why did you lose contact with them? Why did they drift? And then maybe you came back together or maybe you didn't. But has that ever happened to you? Universally, everyone has had that happen to them with a childhood friend or someone else. Or it's like, when you meet someone and you just immediately in that split second know if you like their energy or not. What is that? What is that split second moment? It's consciousness, right? And then what I'll do after I explain one of these different ways of explaining consciousness is I'll just show them the map in silence. I'll pull it up and be like, just look at this for like 2 minutes. They'll look at it and I'll be like, what do you see in this map? And almost always, people will see themselves or the person they're struggling most with in the map.
Interesting.
The most recent time I've done this, the guy was like, oh, my best friend's in anger. This makes so much sense. It's like the map will give a vocabulary for a painful experience, just what you just said, in their life, the deepest pain they're going through, the deepest confusion, the emotional rift that they can't quite remedy. And so when I'm in these conversations with consciousness, where they go next, it's always the same place. It's judgment. When someone looks at the map, it looks like bad going to good.
Yes.
This is the biggest mistake that I think that like looking at the map, just looking at it creates good and bad. When in reality,
it's a circle.
Everything is perfect.
Nailed it.
All the states are needed. There has to be no judgment. Every emotion needs to be, like you said, held with love. Because shame is just love wanting to be expressed.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
The lower states, it's all love wanting to be expressed.
Oh,
and what you were saying, it hit me so strongly.
It's
it was
really
like,
beautiful.
That is what people get wrong about the map, is that you don't judge any of the states. The states are all necessary to your freedom. And you cannot get to the higher states without fully feeling the weight of every state underneath it.
Exactly.
And that was just the beauty of what you were saying. Like, it reminded me of the story recently when you were like, I've never just walked around saying, fuck this shit.
What did I say that?
well, Tej said that, and then you were like, I've never done that. And I'm like, you know what?
Oh, just now. Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you meant another time.
No, I'm talking about like 30 seconds ago,
for sure.
So I was thinking about
somewhere
that
else.
because on the last, it's so funny how all this happens on the walks, but on the very last walk, 88, this guy, I like float into a conversation. This guy's like, Elle, are you always happy? And I'm like, no, of course not. Like, I feel every emotion to the fullest extent because that's how I maintain my baseline.
That's right.
Your consciousness is your baseline. It's not your perpetuity. It's not that state that you like, oh, now I'm an enlightened being and I'll always be an enlightened being and I'm just floating. No,
the cracks are going to come right through. You're going to break.
You need the cracks. The cracks keep you there.
The cracks happen every day.
They happen every day.
I'm so happy
you
we're
surrender
talking
to
about
it.
this.
Because I think people see, this is where people look at us from the outside and think
I
we're
was just
always
gonna go
happy.
there.
No, we're not. We're not at all. And it's because we're not always happy that we are mostly happy.
Exactly.
That's what it really is.
You
I was
nailed
just
it.
going to go there in the sense that I think people look at people that have a really high vibration of love and light, all four of us, and are just like, that's unattainable. Like, how do I get there? And it's like, we are crying and screaming and letting it out every day.
We are feeling.
It's like allowing yourself to crack, like you just said, is how you stay in that predominant state.
Exactly.
It's the consciousnesses, and this is how I described it, because in the map, it looks like a ladder. It's actually a circle. And
I love that.
This is the top of the circle. And in order for you to stay high, you have to hit the lower point of the circle to go back up. And that's what I found.
Oh, I love that.
And
that's incredible.
I had this moment, which really reminded me, because I'm getting in touch with my anger, which I really repressed for a very long time. I had no relationship to anger. It was so interesting. I did something called a family constellation. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
It's a spiritual practice where you get into a room and someone calls in the energy of their family and taps and says, like, in their mind, you are my father, you are my mother, you are my sister, you are my grandfather who passed. And then the family dynamic plays out in the energy. I've never experienced anything quite like it. I do it at Casa de Luz on Monday for free. You just show up and you volunteer. And there was one family constellation I did where I was given the energy of the woman's father. But you don't know who you are, and you're not given any instruction. It is purely energetic. And I was angry.
Wow.
I was more angry than I've ever been as myself.
Wow.
And it was so startling because I was like, this is not me. Like, that's what made me believe it. Because I was like, I have no relationship to my own anger.
Wow.
So this is not me.
Wow.
Like, this is someone else's energy in me. And I was her father, and I was stomping around and heckling and insulting people.
Wow.
That is like so out of my character.
That's not
out of pocket.
It was so out of pocket. I was like mean.
Wow.
And that is so not me. And then I was thinking, ever since that happened, like, I have no relationship to my own anger.
Wow.
I shocked myself taking on the anger of someone else.
Wow.
And so ever since I had that realization, this was the most recent one. A couple of weeks ago, I let go of someone in my life who is not showing up the way that I deserved. He was someone I was romantically interested in. He was not showing up strong, not being respectful. I was holding a lot of space for him. It was not reciprocal. And it got to a boiling point where I was in the bath and I just let it rip, saying like, I love you. I will always love you, but I am done. You know, I'm so grateful for all the gifts that you've given me. And I'm so grateful for the time we spent together, but I want no more contact with you. I do not want to speak to you. If that ever changes, I will reach out to you. But in this very moment, I am done. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. And I hung up the phone and I was buzzing. I was in the bathtub, literally. And I'm buzzing with this feeling. And I'm like, I gotta just let this go. So I did something I've never done before in my life. For like 5 minutes, I was just like, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
You. Fuck you. Like over and over. I'm talking 5 minutes.
So good.
I was sorry for that, Mike.
Someone's going to clip that.
I was so pissed. I was
amazing.
Floating. I was so angry and I was just screaming.
So good.
And then I let it all go until it was gone.
It's so good.
Until there wasn't one drop of the buzz
so good
left. And it all like went into the water because I was in the bath.
So good.
I could feel it drain from me.
You literally purified the anger.
Wow.
I purified the anger and I could feel pure emptiness.
Wow.
And I could feel that I brought my state back up.
Heck yeah.
I could literally
That's it.
feel
That's what it
what
is.
I just
Literally
told you. And I had never felt it so clearly until
That's
that
it.
moment where I was like, this is it.
You got to finish the feeling.
That's it.
You can't distract it. You can't
Finish the
redirect
feeling.
it. You can't pick up your phone and watch a TikTok. You just
Exactly.
got to go there and you got to let it rip until
the
there's
feeling.
nothing left.
Finish the
Finish the
feeling. That's a banger.
Finish
That's
the
a
feeling.
banger.
Till there's nothing left.
Own the feeling and finish it.
Own the feeling.
And that
Finish
was
the-
both of those at once. I had said what I needed
So
to say.
good.
I said the truth to someone I avoided saying the truth to. And then I felt the feelings of it. And then this is
You met your husband.
I met
I was just going to ask, what opened up?
Wow.
You ready for this? You're ready for
Wow.
this, Tej? Welcome, Tej.
And by the way, we recorded a podcast a month ago, and this was not.
This was not the
present.
case.
This has all happened in the last month.
Life moves fast.
Wow.
Life moves fast
When you tell the
when you
truth.
tell the truth.
And when you finish the feeling.
And you
And
finish
when you
the
finish
feeling.
the feeling. So this is how wild this life is. Okay. I have this fuck you moment in the bathtub, which I didn't even tell you guys about that.
No, you
that,
told me. I remember.
That
Not
was
me, no.
incredible.
You
Oh,
told
I
me.
get
You were like, fuck you. And I was like, yes.
I get so excited just reliving that. I was like, I want to
Feels so
pissed
good
again.
to feel.
God, anger is amazing.
Exactly.
So after I let go of this person and I felt the full feeling and I full owned it, then we have Danny's marathon here in Austin, Texas.
Classic marathon.
And we meet the Mirandas, which was wonderful. This is on February 18th. The very next day of this is all within me saying the fuck you in the bathtub, and this was all within days. I go to this yoga studio called Lizard Yoga, which we will be going to tonight if you'd like to join us for somatic
For
release.
some more
Just
screaming and letting
screaming and
emotions
shaking
out.
of emotion. So you're welcome to join us. I'm there. I hardly ever write in public because I get so dialed and focused that I don't like to be distracted by anything. But something just told me, like, just sit in this meditation room, which has a wall of Himalayan salt lamps. It's the best energy, so warm. Just sit in that room and write a story that came to me like a lightning bolt. And the first line is like about how strangers always come up and talk to me. I'm just writing this story and I'm writing this insight from one of me and Danny's friends and one of Danny's amazing clients who had told me, like, there's something about you and Danny that I just look in your eyes and word vomit the truth. And I was like, what a quote. So I was writing on that. And this guy comes in the room and sits down and is like, hey, how you doing? I'm Cameron. And I was like, hey, nice to meet you. And I just go back because I'm writing. I'm in the zone. And he's like, I see you writing something over there. I write too. He's like, can I ask what you're writing? And I'm like, all right, I'll bite. This guy's good looking. So all right, I could go for it. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm writing this story. I host these walks every Saturday. And he was like, oh, the walks, I know about those. I heard about them on Danny Miranda's podcast.
Wow.
And he's like, Danny Miranda's the reason I moved here from Bali.
Wow.
3 weeks from Bali 3 weeks ago.
What did I tell the Uber driver yesterday? It's the Danny Miranda effect.
And I'm like, Danny Miranda's my best friend.
Wow.
And he's like, what? And I'm like, okay, God, I'm listening. So I put the story away. I get locked in. Of course, within this 3-hour conversation, I pull out the map of consciousness, as one does, the most romantic piece of literature ever written. So I bring this in. We're having this very deep conversation. Yeah, for us, of course. This deep conversation for like 3 hours. And he's like, I have never felt so seen in my life. And it was actually reminding me of exactly what you said earlier about seeing the true face, seeing like the light, and how Danny was walking around with no one actually seeing the light within, and how that causes a sadness and a suppression, because if no one around you is seeing or nurturing or cultivating that light within, where does it go? Where it dies, and you see no hope, you see no proof of the light in other people. So how do you cultivate that within yourself? And he said that almost very thing to me. He was like, I feel like I could just be myself and talk about the things that I like to talk about, and that you like those things too. And it's like, wow, like you're proof that the people I'm looking for exist.
Wow.
That I've been searching for my whole life. Like this has changed my life, this conversation. And then
little did he know.
Little did he know. So in that conversation, I'm like, well, you heard about Danny's retreat, right? And he is like, well, tell me about it. I'm like, well, it's happening in like 2 days. I can call him and see if he has an extra spot. I think you need to be there.
Wow.
I just had this like intuitive hit where it was like, something tells me you really need to be there because you're going to heal somebody. You're going to play a very pivotal role in this retreat. And he's like, okay, I'm going to make it happen. Like, I'll be there. So I text both of these two guys and I'm like, Danny, long story, met a guy in a yoga studio, needs to be on your retreat. Here's a photo of him. You can calibrate him right now.
Wow.
He calibrates in love in like 5:25. And I saw it in his eyes. That's why I was like, he needs to be there. He pays the money immediately because he's like you when it comes to money. I learn a lot from like your perspective on abundance, where it's like money is easy. Money is effortless flow. Money is like making a cup of coffee. He sees it that same way. So he drops that 3,000 on the Danny retreat, which I was
say
like,
the full thing. You're so scared of
oh,
it.
well, yeah. Okay, then 3,000. Yeah, I put a little enunciation on there just for you. So he drops that, and then I was like, whoa. Okay, it's got serious. So then he shows up, exact same. Like, you can talk about what happened there, but like he healed somebody. Yeah. Just as I had expected and felt intuitively. And then he seamlessly fit into our friend group somehow. He just like effortlessly fit in. And then from there, it was pretty amazing because they go on this retreat. The very next day, Danny and I meet for dinner at the Holy Hyatt Hotel.
Saw yesterday live in the flesh.
Amazing.
I pointed it out.
A holy ground there. We will own that ground. I don't know how or when, but it will happen. So we're there for dinner. Danny is like a little bit late because he ran into somebody, of course. We sit down on the balcony and I get this hit because Danny's like, I'm going to give you a recap of my retreat. And we all know his memory.
You chose the table.
I chose the table. Exactly. So we sit down. I start recording our conversation. 1 minute and 11 seconds into the recording, we hear, Elle? Danny? And it's this guy, Cameron.
Wow.
And this guy, Cole, who
Welcome
were
to
both
Austin,
on
Tej.
his retreat the day before,
It's wild.
walking together.
Incredible.
And me and Danny are like, come on up. So they come up to join us. And we have a 6-hour conversation, all recorded, which I would say that recording would make an atheist believe in God.
Yeah.
There were so many miracles on tape in that recording.
Yeah.
Like almost by the minute happening. And in that moment, in that 6-hour conversation, there was a moment where Cameron is in mid-sentence talking about his experience on Danny's retreat, and he just stops talking. It just is staring at me looking in my eyes, and we're just in this moment together. And Danny was there, so he can talk about this because it was in front of, the two gentlemen as well. And we just kind of fell in love. Like
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what your experience of it was, but it felt holy.
Definitely was holy.
Did it feel holy for you?
Yeah. It was a magical experience to be a part of. It was something that you could just feel like there was something else working. And I could just feel the love that they had for each other so clearly. And I could see the love they had with healing me and Cole and talking to us and holding space for us and us to them. And it was like they were in the space of like nothing else mattered. And it's what I wish for every human being to experience, this feeling of it's just me and you and nothing else matters. And I think that's all of our gifts, is when we're alone with someone in the room, it feels like really nothing else matters. Yeah. And when I saw that, the potency of you and Cameron both doing that to each other, it just hit me as so beautiful and so lovely, truly.
Well, get ready for this plot twist, because I'm trying to tell the whole story because I do think this will give people a lot of peace in an odd way. So this whole thing happens. It's a very high, emotional, energetic. I mean, this is a 6-hour conversation where there's miracles by the minute. And in some ways, when you're, like we were talking about, when you just reach those higher states, it's a little destabilizing because you're like, is this real life? Like, am I really in this, or am I dreaming? Am I going to come crashing down? There's almost like a fear that kicks in, and we love the fear, but it does kick in to where you start to question your reality a little bit. Like, can things really be this good? So the next day, I wake up to a couple of texts. One of them is from Danny saying, "Why didn't you tell me it was romantic with Cameron?" What a unique text from Danny, who never assumes a story on top of anything. And then 5 minutes after I get this text, Cameron texts me and goes, "I felt such a strong love for you that I started to question whether it was romantic. And I asked God to tell me in a dream if you were my person. And I woke up this morning and it was a no. So I guess we're just soul siblings." And I was like, on the tread. This is 5 minutes within getting this text from Danny. And I'm laughing. I mean, I am seriously like, of course. Like, this is the funniest thing ever. I'm on the tread. I spread my arms. I even texted you this. I just spread my arms and said, "Thank you, God." I mean, I just felt totally at peace with it.
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
if it's not Cameron, she's so close.
Yeah.
It's like around the corner.
Right.
You could feel that
Because
she
her
was
acceptance and peace around the situation, where it was so clearly the previous version of her would be so attached to this and create so many stories.
So many stories.
Yeah.
They would have heard about this one for hours in a past version of me. I'd be like, "How did this happen?" And you were
what
there.
Did I do?
What did you think? There would have been a lot of that.
Wow.
But I was just so euphorically accepting and happy with whatever it was. And it was like, truly, if this isn't my person, I love him so much that we're going to have a great life.
Yeah.
Look at who I'm surrounded by. I've got you guys. I've got him now. All these new characters keep revealing themselves and spawning out of the sidewalk cracks. It's like, how am I going to be upset? This is fucking awesome.
That was a huge proof of growth for you.
Oh, it was, and I could feel it. I was on the tread, and I even texted Danny this. I'm like, oh my God, I can feel the growth. I can feel that I'm reacting differently.
It's incredible.
And I had such an acceptance for it. So then throughout that week, we're hanging out. There's a bunch of events that just so happened to be going on. We had the Welcome Sloan party, which was amazing. I had a party for one of my other friends, Jess, and I just kept inviting him. I'm like, "You want to come with me? I just love spending time with you." And he's invited me to all these things. Then throughout that week, at the very end of the week, on Sunday, after Welcome Sloan, I'm a little sick, so I have a runny nose. He drives me back home. And by the way, we're just touching this whole time. So it's a very physical, they know. We're always just hee, or I don't know, just touching always. And so it's just okay, whatever this is, I love it. I don't know what it is, but I'm here for it. So at the end of the week, I'm sitting in my parking garage and we're just talking for probably like 3-4 hours about life, goodness, how good everything feels, how his life has changed drastically in the last 3 weeks because he talked to me in a yoga studio and now he has a whole new group of friends. He's in a new city. It's like all this is happening for him. He healed someone at Danny's retreat. It's like we're just recapping all of it. And he starts wiping my nose with his finger and wiping it on his shirt. And I'm just like, wow, what a romantic thing to do. I was like, this is like, what a good friend. Like, my friend just wiping my nose. That's fucking awesome. I'm living the best life ever. And then, of course, he's like, do you have any romantic feelings for me? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then we talked about it. And he was like, well, I think God was wrong. Like, maybe it wasn't God. Maybe it was just a voice of fear.
Wow.
Maybe it was just my ego wanting to block me from something that feels really good. And like, why don't we just see how it happens? See where it goes. And I was like, sure. So then that happened. And God was right, but it wasn't God speaking to him in that moment when he asked. It was his own voice of fear, just like he said. And you said that, and Danny said that, and we all know that. And now we're together.
Wow.
And that all happened in the last month. Yeah, I met him in the yoga studio on the day after the marathon, February 19th, President's Day.
Wow.
Yeah. So you ever wonder how things can change? But this was the beautiful learning. And I think that like if I could really be speaking to my women here right now, is that if you just let go, like truly just let go. If somebody says to you, like you have an expectation or a frame, or you're like, oh, maybe this could be romantic, maybe this could be my person. What if you just let that go? Let that go and find out what it develops into. I think I used to be so fixated because I wanted to keep myself safe on like, what is this? Are we together? Are we not? Do you like me? Do you not? When you're in that obsession and constant anxiety, you're probably going to prevent it from becoming anything real because you're not acting as your true self. It's like if you put all this expectation on it, then it's showtime, it's game time. It's like, is that you or is that your character? Is that you or is that your customer service representative? It's like, just chill out and let go. And it wasn't until the first time I ever did that in my life that look what happened.
If this is all I get, I'm grateful we met. That was my mantra.
Just like you said.
Wow.
Same
That's incredible.
with you.
It's incredible.
Could you imagine if he told you that, hey, I just want to be friends with you, and you were like, oh no, like this is like,
Could have been.
And I've done that many
Could
times.
have been.
That's right. And the previous version of you see that, and you could see many people could hear that and hear themselves as they freak out when someone rejects them that they really value.
Yeah.
I feel like you played a really critical role beyond, of course, the retreat. But I feel like you, in your relationship, I feel like you were an incredible mirror of letting go and being honoring of the moment and the person. And I feel like that, because you said something to me like maybe a couple weeks before the marathon, and you were like, why can't I just meet my person like Danny met his? And I was like, you can. And I just feel like, I don't know why it feels important to acknowledge that. I feel like you, by your living example and your relationship, really held up a possibility that I don't think you really saw existed.
That's a really good point, because I think what really stood out to me about what you were doing is that you were so open and ready for it. You literally tweeted ready for wife.
And wife.
I remember that.
I
too.
mean,
Ready to be
that
wife.
was a banger.
It's
And
the
like,
most Danny Miranda tweet of all time.
it was incredible.
Well, I did that on January 13th, and then I met her on January 27th.
27th.
I just remember like looking, and I remember this
Dude.
walk because I was looking at Talia, and I'm just like, I was so like,
You were like sad.
I was like, why is it so hard for me?
Yeah. You
That's
were
what
like,
I kept
why
saying.
can I be like Danny?
I know. I was like, why is this so hard?
She literally said, why can't I meet my man like Danny met Sloan? I'm like, oh, you baby, I'm sorry.
Well, because this is what was so amazing. And this is what I really like. In addition to letting go, there's really an element where like I was holding on to this one guy because I had a story about what we could be. He wasn't showing me most of the story I created.
Yeah, the
It
story
was
was
not
really
there.
It was really embellished.
I was really creative, and I was spinning a really good one, guys. And I even convinced you guys for a second there. It was very compelling. And Tej, if you could have heard it, you would have been convinced as well.
I don't know if Holy Tej would have been
Holy
convinced.
Tej may
My copywriting brain starts going off.
Tej would have turned into a
He's like,
blog.
a
He
story?
would be selling it at this point. But it was the perfect person because it was so visual. It was so alive. There were so many like things I could grab onto, and I just got so stuck in it. I got so stuck in the story. And then I started to invent, and this is where I feel like people could really learn something. What is real? What is someone showing you?
Right.
And what are you inventing? What are the facts and what are the stories? And I think that if I had like taken the time to be like, what is actually going on? What is this guy actually doing? And how much of it am I just like inventing with my creative mind? And if I had taken the time to like really check in with myself and put like a fact story list and been like, here are the facts, here are the stories, I think I would have gotten through that faster. But I also recognize it all happened perfectly, and that I needed the most compelling story I'd ever drafted up to be so exhausted by the time the right person came in that I was like, who gives a fuck what this story is? I'm tired, and I'm just gonna be my damn self.
I'm tired of my story.
I'm tired. I was angry. I'm like spent, and here I am, and I'm just myself, and I'm not gonna put anything on top of it. And then when you get to that place, when you truly let go and you exhaust yourself to that point, it's like, oh, I can just be myself. And that's where the most aligned person comes to you, is like right after that moment where there's no more stories. Like there's no more shield, there's no more mask. It's just pure you. And the person sees it and is like, I want more of this. This shit slaps.
Because that all is going to get revealed in due time anyway.
Yeah.
Right? The story that you create and the story that you be to be the person
Absolutely.
that tries to attract the person. You give that 3 months, you give that 6 months, you give that a year.
Absolutely.
Or 5 or 10. And it's like, okay, the truth of who you are comes out.
The truth of what it is comes out too. Yeah.
I feel like your story is such an incredible testament to, because sometimes I feel like when people listen to podcasts like this, they're like, hey, I'm not in touch with love, but I'm in touch with some of those lower states, right? And like, I feel like your story is such an incredible testament to there is magic on the other side of anger once you finish feeling that fully.
Mm-hmm.
And be wherever your feet are at. So if you're pissed off, just feel that fully. Like God's intelligence is far greater than our own. So we may want to be in love, but if you're just like, fuck this shit, then just say fuck this shit.
Yes.
And just be there and finish that feeling, and you'll be amazed at how quickly God reveals the glory that's intrinsic to your nature once you finish feeling that feeling. Because that's fake. It's artificial. It's not really who you are. It's just in your armor. And it's like the only way through is by feeling it. When you just feel it, it vanishes.
Yeah.
It disappears. And we just prolong it because we don't want to feel it. So now we live with anger unconsciously without realizing it. And we think we're a loving person. But once we start getting in touch with it, I was like, damn, I've been fucking pissed off my entire life. I didn't even know I was fucking pissed off.
It's so true.
Yeah, once you finish that feeling, then all the gift starts to unravel and you realize how quickly things transform and magic happens as a result. And you're your own alchemist. You just got to finish feeling the feeling.
And it's that simple. Like, I love that you're bringing this up again and highlighting it for everyone listening, because I feel like so many times I'll get questions like, how do you feel that anger?
Yeah.
Like, how do you go through the feeling? And it's like, you just feel it.
Just feel it.
Yeah.
Like, there is no
There's no
holy
mind
guided
thing here.
process. It's
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
a primal thing.
Exactly.
You freaking scream. You like
Exactly.
punch a pillow. Sometimes doing physical things actually activate it because your body is what holds it.
Yes.
So I've noticed that lately. But I love that you're bringing this up because it normalizes what we go through as human beings. And I think so many times when you have somebody that you look up to, like everyone in this room, all of us have people that look up to us.
I look
And
up
put
to
us-
all you.
Correct.
Me too.
I look up to all of you.
Likewise.
And it's really beautiful that we're having this conversation because we're sitting next to each other. There's no one, we're not above each other. And I feel like out in the beautiful world of social media, that becomes a very different type of pedestal.
Yeah.
Where other people place you on one.
Yeah.
And I just love that we're talking about this because we're all next to each other.
Yeah.
And I love that we're sharing the very real parts of how we experience these feelings.
I love this too because I think that is really something that I've been doing intuitively with my tweets that I didn't even realize I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anyone to put me on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And
you do
when
that.
I am in a feeling, like my mantra for writing is like, if I feel it, you feel it. So if I feel an
Love
emotion
that.
and I can put words to it, you'll feel it. And that's all I want to write. I write from my feelings. I very rarely write from my mind anymore.
100%.
And so the story I told you about saying fuck you in the bathtub, I tweeted that. Like that's out there.
Yeah.
And like multiple people read that and were like, I literally wrote, people
They were, like,
worried about
concerned.
me because I wrote a bunch of things from the lower state feelings that
And they
I
were
was
like, oh, no.
processing a lot and I was feeling a lot. And that's how I get through it is like,
Right.
my view is that if you have a very, very strong feeling and you're a creative person and you like to write, you like to speak, you like to share that emotion in some way, it's like, that's the best time to do it. Like those lower states should be seen because it's so rare that someone you look up to is willing to share those. And it's that's basically my entire personality.
It is.
At this point, which I love. Like the current state of me is like, I love writing from the lower states more than any of my writing.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so real. It's so juicy. It's so like, I had to push myself and I'm so sad. And it's like, I always feel so much better when I write. I feel even better when I share. Even better. Because
So you write?
See.
You write to process? That's
Yeah.
like your go-to?
Yeah.
I physically, like, I'm screaming at the moment and let out. What do you both do?
Yeah. What do you do?
I do a combination. So I also like to write, but I also do like a live inquiry session with the teacher on like a weekly basis. And that's like guided and it involves you like kicking and hitting. If
Wow.
anger is what's rising, essentially whatever is coming up, you just experience fully. So if it's like grief, you experience the grief. If it's pain, whatever it is. And I noticed something really interesting. I noticed my eyes look differently after the fact
Wow.
than compared to before a session. A session is like 1 hour, for instance.
Wow.
Right. And like, even if I was feeling something that was very low, right. And I was just like, fuck this. I hate this. Fuck this life. Fuck you, God. Like truly experiencing like, fuck you, God.
Wow.
You let me down. You abandoned me. Where the fuck were you when I needed you? Like even just getting into that energy right now.
Wow.
Like you're not supposed to say that, which is what makes it so powerful to actually fucking say. There's power in saying that. I feel so much love for God because I said, fuck you, God.
Wow.
Right? My love for God increased because I accepted the fact that, hey, during this time, God was in there. But what I realized was God didn't turn his back on me. I was the one that turned my back on God. I was disconnected from presence. God is always shining. The light is always here. But because what we go through, we lose touch with that. Right. But it was the result of like, hey, I'm not supposed to say this, but I feel like, God, you fucking let me down. I feel like you weren't there and I'm fucking pissed off at you. And the teacher was like, okay, feel that feeling. Say what you want to say. And I'm like, fuck you, God. I hate you. Leave me the fuck alone. Don't ever show up in my life again. And if you say that, and then that part that felt like that starts to melt into the presence of God. Like God is so loving, he will allow you to say fuck you to him. And as a result of that, you melt into the love of God and you truly feel the love of God because you feel the hatred that's inside of us.
Wow.
That was programmed inside of us. And I feel like we're so scared of feeling our own hatred. We're so scared of feeling that murderous rage that starts to arise in us, right? We're always told, just keep that on the corner, bro. This is the spirituality club. This isn't the murderous rage club,
It's true.
right? So as a result of experiencing that, I just started seeing like God everywhere after. It's like God is everywhere. I just didn't have the eyes to see because it was hatred that I was looking at the world through. And it was only after I said, you know, that and truly experienced it on a felt sense way that it started to completely shift my reality, completely transform it. I don't even feel like I'm living in like the world I used to live in. I feel like this is a lucid dream. And these are my lucid dreaming friends. And we're all in on it. And it's incredible. The precious opportunity we have in this lifetime is so incredible. It's such a gift, such an honor. Like the potential for us human beings, I don't think we realize what a precious opportunity this is. And it's not about making a fuck ton of money. That's cool. That's important. But like we're meant to do something bigger. Once we light up, we literally light up the whole world and God lights up through everybody. And imagine that. That's the highest ambition. People talk about being ambitious. You can realize God in the flesh in this lifetime. What could be higher than that? What could be higher than living with God? Allowing God to live through you. Like God needs the human being to experience life fully. God is alone. God has no friends. So he invents this entire world so we can have a podcast and God can talk to God. And it's like, oh, I feel this love and this satisfaction. You know, I couldn't do this by myself. There was just one being. Now I invent all these people. Like if you look at a young child, a single child that's like, you know, no siblings, he invents an imaginary friend. Yeah. So he's not alone. Where does that come from? It's the same thing God does. He creates this entire reality with all these different people, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, so we can experience that. But we're all the same being. It's just God in disguise. God's just playing hide and seek with himself. And once you start to awaken to that, you're like, dude, this is the greatest experience on fucking earth. This is life. This is life. And there's no stopping this. It's infinite. It just continues. And God's like infinite nature is so remarkable. It just blows my breath away. But it was the result of, that's why I'm so adamant about like this, because sometimes I feel like we have a certain perception of money where it's a poor person and it's a billionaire. And I think we apply the same thinking to the consciousness model. It's somebody that's poor in consciousness and somebody that's rich in consciousness. And I'm like, we haven't really evolved if we look at it through that same lens. It's not a measure of, you know, that person's higher, this person's lower. The circle thing was fucking revolutionary. Right? I never thought of it like that. It's not a ladder, it's a circle.
Love that.
And the circle is of oneness, essentially. And, you know, even all those lower states, it's like love it's in a form that it couldn't be fully expressed in. So it got like polluted. But anger is like a reflection of love on some level. There is only love. So I feel like for me, what's like really lights me up and brings me to life is just like the sheer potential of what is possible in this reality. And I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface and we are like leading the revolution that's going to happen in our lifetime. I've seen visions of this and it's happening. And that's why I delayed this entire trip, because I was holding on to my familiar life. I knew once I came here, it was like fucking game over. I had to stop playing small. So I just pushed it off. I was a little pussy. I was like, fuck this. I'm not going to do that, you know? Right? I just fucking pushed it off. And the moment I came here, of course, like it was like holy music playing in the taxi cab. And Danny's like, welcome home. And, you know, all these types of tags, of course. And it literally felt like I was landing in a place that I had long forgotten, but I had long remembered at the same time. And even as I speak, like in this like immediate environment, I feel such a tangible presence. It's so real and it just feels like it's breaking through me. And it's so palpable. And it just feels incredibly, like I haven't ate all day. I feel so nourished.
I went to the bathroom and it's completely different. Like outside this room versus in.
Energetically.
Completely different.
What does it feel like in here?
There's like a buzz that's so palpable.
Yeah.
So palpable.
Wow. What do you see in your visions?
I used to have them a lot when I was a kid. And like when I was a kid, it always felt like two things. One, it felt like something big was going to happen in this lifetime, where the true face of what this life is actually about was going to be revealed. And there was also going to be like, you know, rapid technological breakthroughs. And we were essentially taking birth to actually assist and experience this reality. And I would have visions of like what that world essentially looks like. It was very vague. But as a young kid, I thought like, you know, this isn't normal. So I kind of lost touch with that. And I kind of adopted the paradigm of society. Like the reason I could recognize your sadness is because I had those same sad eyes. And sometimes I still do when I look in the mirror. Right? It feels like I've long forgotten the mission that I came here to undertake. And then in those visions, it was just like a constant, more so a remembering of what is actually true and what that truth actually leads to. Like, I think sometimes when we think big, our thinking big is like really thinking small, because we're limited by, our model of the reality and our model of the world. I think truly thinking big is just like, this entire planet is going to transform. It is already transforming. And I think it's not a reason that you see people like awakening to these truths in their 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
It's happening by, divine timing, and it's happening for a reason. And I feel like all of you guys are playing an incredible role in making that happen by just being yourself fully. And I'm so curious to just see what God is up to. And he's revealing it in each and every moment. And the more that you're just yourself and just blank and pure, the more that energy flows, and a retreat ends up getting created. Coaching ends up happening. Yeah. The world starts healing and rising in consciousness in a true way, not in a cheesy bullshit, in a very sincere and real way. And I think if we can hold support for people to actually experience whatever they're experiencing, regardless of what it is, that's the greatest gift. Like, if somebody comes up to me, they're like, fuck you, Tej. I'm like, all right, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You've got big space.
Yeah. If it's like in a controlled setting, if you're in the club or something, it's different.
Tej at the club. Oh,
Tej at the club.
Enlightenment at the club.
God at the club.
Jesus is at the club.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like such a rich opportunity. And sometimes I've experienced this life before, and I failed to actually wake up to the preciousness, and I died. And then I was reflecting on my life, and I was like, I missed the fucking plot.
Wow.
I got lost in the contents as opposed to being in touch with the container. That's not to say contents aren't important. Like, I'll tell you, I love money. I love running up the numbers. I'll look into the camera and say that directly. Right? I don't give a fuck about that. I'll run up the numbers all day.
I love it too.
But at the same time, it's like run up the numbers and be in touch with presence.
Absolutely.
Be in touch with the real. You can have your cake and eat it too. We can be in the world fully, have relationships, make money, experience the beauty this world has to offer, and at the same time, be in touch with the part of us that is outside of time and space. And I feel like once you start living from there, life just becomes magical. It's just one infinite flow, and it never ends. And you realize, you were never born and you never die, and freedom is what you've always been. And that's why you close your eyes when you realize that, because you're remembering the deep truth. And it just soothes and it cleans out all the parts that have been programmed by society to tell you that you're a limited human being. You take breaths for 70 years, and then you're going to exhale, and then it's over. The story is finished. God is far too powerful and far too creative for the story to end there. The story goes on. The story goes on. And deep down, I think we all know it. And I feel like this lifetime, who knows what we've done in previous lifetimes, but in this lifetime, I feel like the story is progressing at a rate that is far superior to anything that I've experienced. And I feel like, what you guys were saying, when you tell the truth, how quickly things start happening, even that in itself is a reflection of the time that we're in. And I feel like God is just playing recklessly with the most love. And people are waking up to the love of God and allowing God to live and play through them. And they realize I feel the most me when that's happening, because there really is no separation between you and the divine. And that concludes my TED Talk.
Your TED Talk.
That's our TED terminology,
TED Talk. That's a pretty solid one.
Oh my God, we'll post that directly to the TED Talk YouTube.
That's so beautiful. So beautifully said.
Thank you.
It feels like all of us have been on a very accelerated timeline for a reason.
What's your sense of that? Like, when you feel into that, what comes up for you?
I feel like I've lived 500 lives and I'm 30. Like, I feel like I've had so many lifetimes in this one lifetime. I don't even remember who I was last week. Like, I feel like we just rapidly evolve and continue to become who we're meant to be. And I feel like that's just been happening. You were writing the Smile Times. What was it?
Sunny Times.
The Sunny Times at 14. You started at 14. I don't know what age we started, but we look at where we are now, and it just feels like it's just lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. Like a year is not a year,
Right.
and a week is not a week, and a day feels like a week. And so that feeling feels, that's how I connect with, one of the many ways how I connect with what you just said of like God is playing a really accelerated and like just intricate game right now. And it's all love. But it's all so like in your face. It's impossible to deny. Like the truth is impossible to deny when you see it, when it's right in front of you. I mean, we all just met you in person for the first time. Like, what is happening?
And we started recording this.
We just met you, Tej, and it feels like we've known you. It feels like I have known you for lifetimes. Like, it's not even like a lifetime. It's multiple. Yeah. How does that happen? Like, there's just a reason for that. And I feel like that's exactly what you just said, your Tej talk on God being so present. And where we are waking up to just God's presence in life.
There is a funny story. Me and Tej.
Oh, you're all as well.
I gotta tell her.
I like the circling back moment.
This,
like a natural comedian.
Of course.
You can hold these
She
threads.
got big space.
Oh, you know. So, because this one just really blew my mind. I just love every second of it. So when Tej came into my awareness due to Danny, thank you, Daniel. I remember like I just would read your tweets, and there was this one tweet where you just put in all caps, all is well, all is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. And I was just like, banger. Like I literally screenshotted that tweet and was just like, this is it. Like, I don't know what this is, but it's it. And it just feels amazing. And then from that moment on, it was like, Tej equals all as well. That's just that.
That's the highest compliment I've ever received.
It literally, it's interchangeable.
That's it.
So then I remember I just got the random urge one day to DM you all as well. Because like that's all I needed to say. That was really nothing else needed to be said. It was all said. So I sent this as my first DM. And then I think you were like, all is well, of course, back. And then I sent a screenshot of our Google Meet that I named All Is Well. And I said, can't wait for you to join us, which is very funny because, like, look at what I manifested. You sure did. I really made that happen. The All Is Well pod.
The All Is Well pod.
So I sent this to him. And then from that moment on, really, I just started to feel called to rip off an All Is Well to Tej at very random moments. Like really from that moment on, it was like once the All Is Well dam broke, it was like, okay, so this is what I would be doing. I would literally, there would be times I'm driving in my car, and I'm like, Tej, all is well. And I would like stop at the red light, pull up to the side of the road and text him all is well. I mean, this is like an all is well compulsion. Okay. So I'd follow it every time. There was a time I got the hit in the shower and actually stepped out of the shower to text you.
Wow.
I take it very seriously because
when she gets the call,
the moment feels very strong and it's like it means something. It's like it's just an overwhelming, but you can't predict it. It's not every day. It's like who knows what it's going to be. It just is. So in the last couple of weeks, this had become the All Is Well chain, right? It's just basically me saying all is well and Tej being like, fuck yeah. Okay. So that was it. But then there was this one week where it was actually the love bubble week. Where I was in a love bubble with Cameron and I was just like off the radar. So the all is well voice was not speaking to me because I was just speaking to God 24/7. So I got no all is well hits.
You were living all is well.
I was living it. And he's living it. And so then I just get this random hit, like almost like the 2 hours after I was alone with my own thoughts. There it was. Tej, all is well. So I'm texting that at like 8 p.m. I think it was 8:08. Wow. And then the next morning, I get it again. And I was like, okay, all is well again. And then he comes back. And please share what happened.
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, what was so interesting, well, even before that, like whenever she would text me all is well, it would be like a situation in my life would be like unfolding in like a very interesting way, whether it was
My
like for good or bad.
God.
And like instantly she would text all is well at those moments. And I was like, yo, this is fucking incredible.
This woman has power.
She has she's channeled, dialed in.
This is why I do it in the shower. Because if
Exactly.
the timing matters.
Wow.
But what's crazy is like with the most recent one, so there was like a situation that I was going through and I was really wrestling with the decision, right? Like my intuition pretty much tapped out and I wasn't really clear on whether it was like path A or path B. And then I just like my way of leaving it up to the universe was like, if I receive an all is well text, then I'm going to go with path A, right? And literally I log into Twitter
my God.
moments later and I haven't received the all is well text in weeks.
Oh my God.
Guess what's waiting in my fucking inbox? A fucking all is well text.
Two.
And that's
Oh my God.
It was the 8:08 p.m. and then the next morning it
Oh.
was like a double confirmation.
Exactly. That's what inspired
Oh
my
my
tweet
God.
when I was like, God speaks to you through other people.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Because he used my all as well for
Sorry about that, by the way.
No, that was
I'm kidding.
fantastic. No, you use all as well for a business decision, which
Yeah.
I thought was the most epic thing
Incredible.
ever. Because why it was a holy moment is that I
So
had
good.
not sent an all as well in a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden I just got this real strong and I woke up with it. And immediately sent
That
it
is
out.
amazing.
It was wild. Right when I logged into Twitter and I saw that little one check mark on like the DMs, I was like, nah, I can't. What do you know? You open it, all caps, all is well.
That is incredible.
You can't make it up.
You cannot.
So what's the takeaway for the person? It's like pay attention, right?
It's honor the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Listen to the call.
I mean, I honor the voice so thoroughly that like I believe that if I get hit with something that says send Tej all is well, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And there is.
Mm.
This is what we learned through doing this is like every time I've sent him this, it's been at like an interesting moment to where it's either provides
Wow.
relief or it provides like, oh, nice. It provides clarity. It provides something. It's like if I'm getting the intuitive hit to say it, he probably has the intuitive hit to feel it and it can be expressed through me. So my big takeaway is
Great.
when you hear a voice, if it's like, hey, call your friend from high school you haven't talked to in 2 decades.
Do it.
Do it. Like, move to Austin, Texas. Do it. Looking at you, Tej.
I was waiting for that. I was about to
subtle,
go.
subtle.
I love God. Holy God. I'm abundant.
Incredible.
You know, but it's like if that voice is speaking to you,
Oh, God.
honor it. Like, what would it look
Yes.
like to honor it? And the more that you don't honor it, you are delaying your path to alignment.
I'm really curious. Can I bring this back to you for a second? Because you said that you pushed off the trip. You pushed off
Sure.
coming here. You pushed off coming here. So now that you're here, all in perfect timing,
All in
obviously.
perfect timing.
So, like, are you delaying or is there something? Is there a reason
That's
that
really
you
interesting.
haven't done it yet?
Mm. I think a part of me was delaying it, but I didn't know why I was delaying it. On the surface, I could tell you, like, oh, I was just, I was being a pussy. Once I came here, I knew a lot of things was going to unravel. And, like, that would be, I think, a surface level answer.
Mm.
And I feel like there's something deeper that is at play. And I feel like, once I feel something in my body with respect to the time is here, there's no denying it. And I think previously, there was definitely like a part of me that was like a pussy, but I also think there was a part where the timing wasn't perfectly in alignment. And I'm not talking about timing with my life.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant. I'm talking about timing with respect to the grand scheme of things, with respect to what's going to unfold. And what Danny said made a lot of sense yesterday when he was like, if we had met 2 years ago, the filter or the pre-frame that would have been set for our relationship would be drastically different than what it is as we're meeting today.
What would it have been then?
It would have been me looking at him as a mentor.
Wow. Pedestal.
Me putting him on a pedestal Versus today, it's just looking
Brother.
eye to eye as a brother.
Exactly.
Truly.
Exactly.
Which is what we both knew at the start.
Exactly.
But
Wow.
it was like I was looking up, and because I wanted that state so badly.
Right.
And so now it's perfect.
Exactly. Like it just feels like, for me, it just feels like coming home when the time was perfect. It
So
was-
you weren't delaying, really.
Let's go with that. That's what I feel.
don't know. Feels
Like
true.
deep down inside, that feels very true, and it
Yeah.
feels very real, and it
Mm.
feels very sincere.
Hmm.
And I think that timing is beautiful because as soon as I came here, I just felt like, oh, the timing is perfect.
Wow.
It didn't feel like it was forced. It didn't feel like, anything. It just felt like I've truly landed when the time was to land.
Wow.
And what's so special about that feeling of perfect is like, if you accept that to be true, then every moment prior had to be perfect as well.
Exactly.
Exactly. Wow.
Suzette, bringing in Susie again, she said something to me that really resonated. She was talking to me about my destiny and fate around just like creating a lot of content and putting myself out there and like really allowing myself to be exposed in a way to serve people. And she asked me this question. She goes, "Do you want that right now?" And I sat with it and I was just like, "Not yet." And she goes, "That's what they're telling me. Not yet." And intuitively, it's your fate. And intellectually, you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But in this exact moment, it's a not yet. And so I think sometimes you can have an intuition that you're meant to be at a place. You're meant to come to Austin. And intellectually, that you can
Right.
and you should.
Right.
But in the moment, it's like a not yet. And sometimes it's really it can be confusing
Mm-hmm.
to discern between that intuition and the intuition that is a little bit in the future. Like what's the present moment intuition versus the intuition about your future?
Yeah.
And I just think that's really interesting because I feel like I made some decisions based on the future intuition, and in the moment it didn't feel in alignment until I came back to, oh wait, no, right now is the time for me to feel. And when I finish the feeling, I'll know what I want to do. And I'm going to give myself that space. And I know and trust that that's my future. But in this moment, that's what my intuition is saying. And so I feel like intuition actually has a timeline. Like the truth has a timeline. We talk about that a lot. It's like past, present, or future. What's the present moment intuition? And can you tune into that and then act from that? And it's a very different voice.
That was beautifully said.
Almost going back to Cameron, it was like his no was actually not yet.
Interesting.
And if he was to say yes right now, it wouldn't have given you the opportunity to show your own growth.
Yeah.
It's really true.
It wouldn't have given me the gift of letting go and living in the gray area, which is something that I always really struggled with. And when he very quickly was like, God said you're not my person, I was like, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's so
Great.
true.
So then I was able to just be myself
Right.
because, all the expectations are off now. Now we can just play. If we could just be buddies.
And there was safety in that for you, in
Yeah.
being friends. Remember? You were like, that's something that is really good for me initially.
Yeah, which I've never had because typically it's like there's this very strong
Correct.
emotion and we're all like, okay, like I guess we're married now. And then it's like, whoa, wait. And then someone freaks out and then, or I act like it's the Super Bowl and I like put on this like customer service representative and I'm like, coaching the man and trying really hard to show him how smart I am. And then my character is like on overdrive and I'm like, and I'm just not being myself.
True
And
story.
I turn into a nun and just a lot goes on. Literally everything that could go wrong goes wrong when there's any stakes in it for me. So the gift that he gave me, which is just comical, is that he said that immediately and then I could just relax. I was like, oh, okay.
Trust.
I guess we're just friends who touch a lot. That's not, hey, it's the first time
They
for
were like,
everything.
we're going to bring back platonic touch. The second I saw them together, I was like, no. That's not platonic. I don't know what they're trying to play here.
An amazing lesson, though. But to your point about like sometimes it's a not right now, and that's perfect. It's like that actually allows for the most perfect thing to fall into place right when it needs to.
It's not us. Like, we're not the one orchestrating it, which is why, again, discerning that voice is so critical. It's so critical.
And I think especially like this is something that Talia and I are going through at the same time. Is
shocker.
Yeah, of course. Is that there's this it's a really big resistance to being and resting in the culture that I feel shifting. But like if you think about like the Hormozy hustle bro culture, there's like what are you doing? You know, where are you? What can you be? Or are you looking something up? He's consulting Hawkins.
I mean, he talks about that. I read it.
Does he really?
I read
wow,
it like
that's funny.
read it
You
last
read it?
night or 2 nights ago.
But there's this like really big pressure to always be making something of whatever is on your consciousness instead of just living in it. And people would come to me all the time. I've hosted 88 walks for 88 weeks. People would come to me all the time. They're like, what are you doing, Elle? Like, what are you doing? Why are you not making money off this? Like, why haven't you started a business? Why don't you sell merch? Why don't you have a newsletter? Why don't you do this? XYZ. They come at me with every angle, and it's all with love. Like, they come to me. There was this one guy named Mark who decided to speak on a panel just to confront me about why I'm not making money. Because he was like, I want you to make money so bad.
Wow.
And like people are so invested in the success of what I'm doing and they want to support it, and I'm giving them no avenue to support it because that doesn't feel right to me right now. It'll feel right to me eventually. I know that it will happen, but right now it does not feel right to me, despite what everyone says. Same with the coaching, despite the 30 DMs, people saying, Elle, do it right now. It's like, nah, it doesn't feel right. And whenever that moment does feel right, it'll probably unlock something greater than I could ever have imagined.
Yeah.
But please read the passage, Jan. Because I could see in your eyes.
I would love to hear it.
Well, it's so interesting that I read this last night. Having, doing, being. An overview of the map of consciousness reveals 3 phases of evolution. From
I just finished this page. I told you I read the
Wow.
first 100 pages.
Incredible.
I swear.
Page
That's amazing.
95.
All right, go for it.
Page 95 on the map of consciousness explained by David R. Hawkins.
This is now a
MD.
book club.
An overview of the map of consciousness reveals 3 phases of evolution, from havingness to doingness to beingness. At the lower levels of consciousness, it is what people have that counts. It is what they have that is valued. It is what they have that gives them their self-image of worth and position in the world. Once people have proved to themselves that they can have whatever they want, their basic needs can be fulfilled, that they can have the power to provide for their own needs and those of others who are dependent upon them, the mind begins to become more interested in what they do. And then they move to a different social set in which what they do in the world is the basis of their value and their rating. What is one's position and function? What degrees follow after one's name? How many boards do they serve on? They link achievement with survival via the security that comes from wider approval and self-esteem. They see group cooperation as helpful to achieve shared goals, such as the survival of their interests via community activities. As people move up in lovingness, their doingness is less preoccupied with self-promotion and becomes more oriented to being of service to others. As consciousness grows, they experience that service, which is lovingly oriented towards the world, towards others, automatically results in the fulfillment of their own needs. Their actions are automatically loving and nurturing of life around them. At that point, it is no longer what they do in the world, but what they are that counts. They have proven to themselves that they can have what they need and that they can do almost anything given the willingness. And now what they are within themselves and to others becomes most important. People seek their company, not because of what they have, not because of what they do and society's labels, but because of what they have become. Because of the quality of their presence and love, people just want to be around them. Their social description then changes. They are no longer the person who has a fashionable apartment or a fancy car, nor are they labeled as the president of so-and-so corporation or some other title. Now, they are described as a splendid person, as somebody You just have to meet.
That's amazing.
Exactly.
It's a new currency. You guys talked about it.
It's
The
exactly
currency
what
is
I was
love.
thinking.
Of course you were.
I was listening to that before I got here.
I also was. I listened to it all day yesterday.
Wow.
I listened to it all day yesterday.
I just got the random urge. I was
Same.
like, let me go listen to that.
Exactly.
What?
That
Me and
The
Tej?
best
Yeah.
conversation ever.
100%. I listened
The
to
fact
it
that we
straight.
both listened to that.
Straight shot.
Wow.
That's incredible. That both of you guys.
Independent.
Independently.
Didn't even coordinate that.
It is so true. And it's like that is why I think sometimes we question the not right now. Because when everyone around you and like societal forces are saying do, make money, do something. Like you can't just be doing this for 88 weeks and not being making any money off of it. Like what the fuck are you doing?
Projection.
And it's like, I'm doing what feels good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This just
Mhm.
feels good to me.
Mhm.
I'm serving. This feels amazing.
Mhm.
I'm so happy. If I never make a cent off of it, I will die happy. It's like, it's not about that. The currency, it's not about the currency.
Mhm.
It's about like how many people can come into your space and feel more love, feel lighter, feel less suffering, feel like they can actually feel something, anger, grief, any of it. It's like, that is the currency. Like your ability to make people feel something true. It's like, that's why I do it. And I try to explain that to people and they're like, okay, yeah. But like, why are you really doing it? It's like, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. Like why are we here?
Mhm.
Like, is there any other reason to be here? It's like, and this is what I say all the time, this is what's so exciting right now with the walk community, is that I've noticed as people leverage the walks in the way they're best used, which is to look at everyone around you in those conversations as mirrors to show you where you aren't free. You have these triggering moments, these activating moments that stay with you. You then feel those feelings on your own. You come back the next week to the walk. You talk about it more. You process it more. There's a flywheel of processing that happens with the weekly container the walks provide. And as you go week after week, you rise in consciousness to a certain point, and this is what gets so exciting, that the people who come all the time have now reached a point where they are all doing their own events.
It's true.
Wow.
At almost the same time.
For the very similar reason.
For a very similar reason. They all just started hosting
Mhm.
their own event with their own passion.
Literally like 8 people
8 events.
in the past.
Is that what it is? I've been seeing on Twitter. It's like the bookless book
Yes.
club.
Yes.
And the drawing club.
Yeah.
And these are all my people.
Oh, wow.
These are all
Yes.
people who use the walks. They don't probably know this,
It's beautiful.
but I see it because like this is
Wow.
why I do it. It's very exciting to me. Is like the walks I designed unintentionally off the map of consciousness. I didn't even know it existed, but it just made sense to me intuitively. And then when I see it, it's like once you rise to a certain point, you start to see beyond yourself. And then you start to create spaces to serve others and to hold that container, because now your container is so full that you're like, what do I do with all this love? I have to like bring people together into this love. And it's like, this is it. Like you talk about like, how much money are you making? It's like, no, how many hosts are you creating?
yeah.
That's what
Wow.
fucking lights
How many
me
hosts
up,
are you
man.
creating?
Wow.
How many leaders?
How
How
many
many
leaders
leaders
are
are
you
you creating?
It's the leaders.
That is
leaders
the
leading
currency.
leaders.
It's like, that is transformation. That
Yeah.
is something that like you could write on a tombstone and feel happy about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
And-
connection billionaire. It's like, that's what
Yes.
it's about. Like, miss me.
Connection.
I don't care if I make a cent. It's like, there are 8 people running their own weekly events because of the walks. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
No,
But,
don't
like,
be sorry.
Someone sent that Hermosi. Has he ever created anybody hosting events? I'd like to know. We
Maybe.
can talk about it.
He most certainly
Probably.
has. I don't know if that's an enemy you want to.
I'm not trying to make an
No.
enemy.
No,
I'm
I
just
know.
saying, like,
No, I'm saying he's done so much good.
he's done
Yeah.
incredible
You know.
good, but it's from a different frame.
Sure. And also,
Do you agree?
I mean, he helped create me in some sense to be the person that I was capable of becoming to
Yeah.
be more loving
How?
by showing me what work ethic was required.
Hmm.
Like that idea of showing up every day for the meditation
Yeah.
Being
was
disciplined.
right. Like there, I think when you're putting down the hormoses, you are putting down one level of
Yeah.
consciousness that is needed to get to love.
Absolutely.
And I understand it because you're angry at
Beautiful.
the system
Yeah.
that is like, why are we hustling so much for making this money that doesn't matter? It's about love. And I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's beautifully said.
And also, that serves a very important piece.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know that.
And I
you
would
know
say it's not at all directed at him individually. What I think my anger is more oriented towards all of the people who have tried to get me to move when I didn't want to move. And I think that's where my anger comes from, is that it's that frame that's been pushing on me for a very long time to like make money, do something. What are you doing? They question me. They don't understand. They think I have an intent that's not my actual intent. They think there's an ulterior motive when the motive is just love. And I think that's where my frustration comes from. My frustration comes from like, where did we get this programming? Why are people saying this to me? Why can't people trust that it's just love? That we're just out here and we could be doing that, and you'd host your runs forever, every Tuesday, and I'd host my walks every Saturday, and I keep on going forever because I just love doing it. And it's like, we need to, just as that frame has such a stronghold, I'd like to create a stronghold for this frame, which hasn't reached that level yet. And I think that's where my frustration comes. It's like, I want it. Like he's very talented. I mean, he's like, he helped create you. He helped create the discipline that you had. He had an influence on you as well. But I think that that's where my anger comes from. It's not towards him. It's more towards the frame.
Yeah, I appreciate that explanation.
I think the ideal frame is actually both.
How so?
It has to be both. The relentless discipline, structure, focus, monetization, plus the love, doing it with, like, when you're coming from that frame that you want to elevate, the money just comes to you. Like, you don't have to sell anything because people are already feel so loyal to, they're already DMing you asking to buy. It's like, so both frames are really important in balance with each other. Not like the map. It's not better or greater than, it's the circle. You need both. You need both. Otherwise, if you don't have the money and the resources, how do you be a huge conduit for more love? You are in your own influence, in your own circle, in your own network, in your own city, but we need both.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant level work ethic
Correct. With Tej Dosa spiritual.
With magical delusions. What is the tweet that I had written on my wall?
I remember that. Mamba mentality with reality transurfing, quantum
You know,
physics.
reality transurfing? Come on. That was the first book I told you about.
I know.
Combine both with the Kobe
Heck
Bryant
yes.
mentality with reality transurfing and
Amen. That book changed my life.
incredible, right?
Literally changed my life. It was one of the first books I ever read. For anyone that hasn't read it, reality transurfing will completely change the way you look at life forever and how to create in it and the map of consciousness. Reality transurfing is just it's a different language, I guess.
Right.
Different angle. So
I tried to read that like 4 years ago when Tej recommended it.
It's huge.
Couldn't get
it's
through a
so
chapter.
it's like
Huge.
Really?
it's like
Yeah.
1,000 pages. There's 5
Wow.
books or 6, I don't remember now. But really good. Really good.
Have to tap in.
Of course you've read reality transurfing.
Let's end the podcast with a prayer. I would love us to all say a prayer.
Perfect.
We're gonna go around and we're all gonna say one prayer.
Wow.
Okay, beautiful.
I'll start. Please, God, let the people listening to this podcast live and feel in absolute love and abundance and light. Let them feel peace and also let them feel shame. Let them feel guilt and let them feel joy. Let them feel the full circle of the spectrum of consciousness. And let their heart crack open so that they can feel the spectrum of love to a level that they've never felt before. God, bless us. Bless us so deeply to do what we need to do to create the most love and the most light and the most human beings possible. Thank you, God, for this incredible, incredible meeting. Thank you, God, for this podcast. Who's called to go next?
I'll go next. Hello, God, my dear, dear friend. Just want to thank you for the opportunity that you gave me to have this fire inside my heart and to share that fire with the people that listen today, and for all the lovely people that are in this room, and for activating the fire inside them as well. The mission is real. The mission is real, and the call has been heard. The call has been heard by the people that are inside this room. The call has been heard by the people that have been listening to this podcast. And what this will lead to is going to be quite literally holy land, holy land, holy land, because all is well and all is forever well, even when our mind tells us that all is not well. I just want to thank you for breaking my heart open and for allowing me to touch as many hearts as possible. All greatness stems from you, and I am completely honored to have been able to speak your message today. And I just want to thank you for being in my life and for being in the life of my friends and my family. And I'm very excited to see where your play goes next. Thank you.
Hello, God. It's me, your bestie. And by God, I mean the person listening to this or watching this right now. I'm so grateful for your time today. I'm so grateful for your curiosity, how you open your heart to every idea that we shared. If I could really, really hope one thing for you and want something for you as badly as I want it for myself, it's that you feel the depth of any emotion that came up during this conversation, whether that's anger or grief or shame or excitement. Really challenging yourself to, as we talked about, finish the feeling, own the feeling and finish it. And recognize that wherever you are right now is perfect. It's perfect. If you're struggling, I know it might feel so hard, but it's perfect. I know it's so hard to see it that way. And like me years ago would hear myself talking and be like, shut the fuck up. It's not perfect. This sucks. It's like, yeah, it sucks. And just scream about it. Feel it. Own it. Finish it. Let yourself go there fully. Honor whatever state you're in. Honor the depth of your emotion and understand that honoring the depth will actually pull you out of the depth. I'm just seriously so grateful for your time, for your energy, for your love, and know that a year from now, this is my intention for the people in this room Daniel, Talia, Tej, and myself, and anyone listening to this, that a year from now, we will be transformed even more than we are today. That we will be surrounded by a river of wealth, abundance, love, community, true sense of belonging. That it's all happening exactly as it needs to in perfect timing. And there's no rush. We're exactly where we need to be right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.
Just want to honor and thank you. Thank you, God, for this space and for this place, this room, and these hours to come on here and just pour our hearts and your wisdom through us for all of the people listening and who have stuck with us for the past 3.5 hours. And for the God in each of you that are listening, my prayer for you is that as you're hearing us speak and laugh and connect and coach each other and share our wisdom with each other, that you look at us and you see yourself and you see that the friend that you are looking for in your life that feels like us energetically or even greater is the one that you're looking at right in the mirror through your own eyes, and to befriend yourself first and know that when you do that, truly when you do that, time ceases to exist and God and the universe will bring in the exact people, the exact friends, lovers, business partners, whoever you're calling in, right to your doorstep, and you will meet them in the most synchronistic of ways. And so my prayer for you as you're hearing us and soaking up all the minutes of this episode is that you take from it the truth and the faith and the knowing that you already have it all too. And it's all available for you, and all you have to do is create space in yourself to receive. And I love you so much. It's such an honor to be here and to be in this room with these beautiful friends. And I just hope that one day we're no longer divided by a screen and that we have the opportunity to meet in person as well. So I love you. Thank you for listening. And until next time.